about it, how concerned are you that you're ceding control of the narrative?
So not very concerned. That's a short answer to the question. When some people that follow the Fed say, well, we don't want your forecast. We don't want your dot. We just want your reaction function. Part of me hears what we really want is your forecast. And what we really want is your dot. In terms of reaction function, let me sort of disabuse people of a question that may or may not be real and be out there. Any central banker, especially a central banker where the labor markets are more or less at equilibrium. Any central banker, when he or she sees underlying inflation moving higher, he or she is more inclined to tighten policy. Again, when you've achieved the other side of your mandate and you see underlying inflation falling, he's more inclined to loosen policy. That's my reaction function, and I don't suspect it will cause people to not continue to pry for more, because the truth is, for a very long time in a lot of countries, coming out of the 2008 crisis, where in crisis mode, we were purposefully providing a lot of information, trying to provide a lot of assurance, trying to tell people exactly what we're going to do, offering forward guidance with clarity as if we're tying our own hands behind our back. Well, in crisis mode, that strikes me as a very prudent policy. But in more benign conditions, it strikes me as worth revisiting. But markets and market participants and reporters have learned to devour all that information, so I take seriously that the pullback of forward guidance requires some transition. Reform isn't easy, but our general judgment is going to help us make better decisions, and in so doing, satisfy our remit.
Paul Weissman.
Thank you.
It's coming. There's a mic coming.
Thank you. When you talk about the 2% inflation target, what measure are you relying on?
Yeah, so I'll give two answers. First, let me give the proper standard answer. The Federal Reserve every January outlines a statement of purposes and strategy. And in that strategy document, which I believe was dated January of this year, it describes a measure of PCE inflation as the objective function there. I have enough of my own, so that's our number, we're sticking with it. Who knows come after next January what we might say about strategy. I suspect the task forces might have something to add. But I'll say this, some version of the Lucas critique, some version of Goodhart's law in economics should remind us that when we talk about measures of inflation or something else, and we describe those measures as being consistent with our objectives, we might make them such that they're not very good measures or very good objectives. Broadly, if you said to me standing in front of you, I abide fully by the strategy document, we're going to deliver 2% inflation and not a whisper more. But to achieve that, I'm looking at a broader set of inflation data than PCE. So without sort of fully revealing my cards, I'm trying to understand, like my colleagues, what's the underlying generalized change in prices that are happening.
All right, as you see there, listening in to Fed Chair Kevin Warsh speaking after the latest interest rate decision, the Fed deciding to keep those interest rates unchanged at this time. As you saw there, though, on the screen, we were teasing ahead to this. Just now getting the shot into our newsroom, President Trump sat there in the Oval Office getting ready to make an announcement about transportation. He's set to be joined there by the Transportation Secretary as well. As you can see, everyone is Scott Duffy standing behind him. Let's pump up the audio and listen in.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is very exciting to me as a builder, somebody that builds lots of big, nice projects before I got here. And we're doing some of the best in the world right now. This is all about the Dulles Airport remodeling. It's considered one of the worst airports anywhere in the world. We're going to make it maybe the best with some hard work and some good thought process. But thank you for being here as we unveil exciting plans for a major and long overdue renovation and reconstruction of Washington's really horribly thought of Dulles International Airport. I want to thank Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. He's fantastic. He's doing a great job, including having to do with the safety of airlines and getting.
Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Happy Wednesday, everybody. All right, we are going to go straight out live to Washington, D.C., where President Donald Trump and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy are speaking. They are set to announce a new renovation project at Dulles International Airport in Washington. Take a listen.
Made tremendous improvements in the last year and a half since we got here. Crime is down by 84%. We've removed 8,000, almost 8,000 career-hardened criminals. And amazing statistic, 2% of the people cause 91% of the crime. And we can handle that really easily. So they've done, I just want to thank our great National Guard and the Metropolitan Police and others that worked with us. But the job in Washington, everyone's talking about. I can also say, if you look at Memphis, Tennessee, where crime was rampant, and it's down now 71%, and it'll go down still further. And Louisiana, New Orleans, the governor called, he said, we need help. And we gave him help, and the crime is down 72%. And they just finished Mardi Gras, and they said it was the safest Mardi Gras on record. So we have a modernization of Dulles that's sorely needed. Last year's J.D. Power ranked Dulles 23 out of 27. That's a very bad ranking. Large airports nationwide, so it ranks at the bottom of the list, just about the bottom of the list. After an extensive review of more than 30 proposals with the top architects anywhere in the world, and I was involved with Sean and with a lot of other people, actually, but Scott was very much involved, I can tell you. But we are announcing plans to add more than 5 million square feet of new or renovated space. We'll replace the current C and D concourses, which are basic disasters, all the while preserving the iconic original terminal. That is one of the great architects of the world did the original terminal, and it was very, very important that it be left. That's one of the reasons. It was both an asset and a liability. The liability is that nobody wanted to build anything near it, and people had to walk crazy distances, and it's no good, not acceptable. So we've addressed it all, and we have a plan that's going to be phenomenal. But we're going to replace the C&D concourses and preserve the iconic original terminal that first made the airport an architectural landmark. So it's going to be something you can sort of see a little example of it right here. That's your front. On the other side of the street, we're building a massive 9-story, 8-story, 10-story. We're not sure yet, but we're building a parking garage that will be right next to the terminal. You'll walk right across the street, and you'll have a number of glass bridges that will go right into the terminal. Right now, you have to walk so far. You have to walk blocks and blocks to get to the terminal. And we have an empty site right directly across the street that nobody wanted to tinker with, which was crazy. So we're going to have a magnificent garage. What would you say, Sean? How many cars?
32,000 parking spaces.
32,000. It'll be actually the largest garage in the world. 32,000 is big. Mostly above ground. We don't like down. People don't like going down underneath. Mostly above ground. It'll be beautiful. But a central walking tunnel and a new air train connections will provide travelers with easy options. Really, it's an impossible airport. You get off a bus, you go into a train, you get from a train, you get onto another bus. It's a worse airport. This plan also includes expanded options for parking, modern check-in areas, more efficient security screenings, hotels, et cetera, et cetera. We have a beautiful hotel right on the property, but further away so that we can give the good location, frankly, the best location, to parking. So people literally will be able to park their car and walk 15 yards and they'll be in the terminal. In addition, many of the new restaurants and shops will be added, including plans for one of the largest United Polaris lounges anywhere in the world, and it'll be a beautiful level of luxury. This transformation is another step in our ongoing efforts to make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful again. The safety aspects, both in terms of the airlines and in terms of crime, are unparalleled for what we're doing. For years, the United States has watched other major cities around the globe welcome travelers with grand and modern airports, yet the last major airport built in the United States was Denver in 1995, and it hasn't gotten very great reviews. That's more than 30 years ago, so we're doing something with Dulles that's going to make it, I think, the top, maybe the top anywhere in the world. And by the way, Palm Beach is going to be one of the top too. Palm Beach is going to be incredible what the plans are. The people, Joe, and all the people working in Palm Beach that have done such an incredible job. That's going to be an unbelievable airport very shortly. So it's time to ensure that the United States has the greatest airports anywhere in the world, and we're starting right here with the capital city. And you can see just before Sean goes up, if you take a look, this is only showing the terminal in one rung, but you have numerous of them. You have here, 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 and you have a spine coming. Here's your main entrance. You have a spine coming right through the building into these massive ports. Now, the planes won't have to be bothered because we drop down a little bit and our walkway is underneath. We have walking systems that go very quickly, or you can walk because it's very close. But this is it. So you enter here. You have a parking garage, which will be built right here. This whole thing is parking garage. Probably 32,000 cars. That'll be a world record, and very convenient. And then you'll have glass tunnels that go into the airport right from here. So you'll be one story above. This road stays, beautified and stays. We keep this. This is your landmark. This is all new. This is your first tunnel, and then you drop down from there on. And so that when you have the planes, we'll be able to go right across without having to go back, make turns or anything else. It's going to be amazing. It'll be one of the largest airports anywhere in the world, and I think it'll be actually one of the most efficient and the best. So I'd like to ask Secretary Duffy to say a few words, and then Jack Potter, and I'd like to welcome a very great gentleman to our midst, Jensen Wong, who's here someplace, and he's, if we can do with an airport like he does with chips, it'll be the greatest airport anywhere in the world. He looks at this problem as being a very simple, problem to solve because his chips are a little bit more complicated. But it's important that he's able to travel nicely along with everybody else. And right now, this is not a very good airport. We're going to make it a great airport. Sean, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So to your point, the President has worked incredibly hard to make D.C. safe and beautiful. I think this is the cherry on the top, Mr. President. This is the gateway to the world from our nation's capital. And any of you who've traveled through Dulles, it is dark, it is dated, a little dank maybe. It's not a great airport. And so we had multiple architects come in and present to the President. And we are blessed that not only does he give us time to really important matters, but he gave his building skill to take the best of all the designs and come up with this concept. So just if I could quickly point out, we keep the Saarinen building. So that's going to be the foyer, a whole new head house. We are going to get rid of the people movers, Mr. President. So if you don't know what these are like elevated buses. It's kind of like, it looks like it's from Star Wars, if you will. And they're slow and people are angry about them. We are going to get rid of those. We are going to have a horseshoe train system throughout the airport. And as you mentioned, right down the spine of the airport is going to be a walkway. So easy access to all of your gates, fast movement. And what I like the President, he was like, listen, we have to have great parking. So when you pull up to the airport, you have easy access to the concourses, to the terminal. And so I think this is one of the best designs, Mr. President, probably because you actually did it, that you'll see in the country as a whole. We've had this is bipartisan, Mr. President. A lot of people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you hate the way Dulles operates. So everyone's come together and we're building for America and building for the future. And it's your vision that made this happen. So thank you for doing this. And it's going to be, I think, it's going to be the premier airport in our country when you're done with it.
Well, thus far, what John said about bipartisan really is bipartisan. And I don't know if that's because it's the right thing to do, which it is, but it's also that whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you don't want to go and be subjected to this airport, because this airport is it's a terrible place to be, and it's going to be, I believe it's going to go, it'll be rated, within a few years, it'll be rated the best airport in the country. So it's going to be so efficient. Right now, it's totally inefficient. Between the trams and the Star Wars thing that they call it, the Star Wars, and elevated buses, and nobody knows what's going on. It's a real mess. And as you know, United is subjected to it. It doesn't help United very much. He's been very much involved with what we've done, and other airlines too. And I have to say that we've had over 30 architects and 30 different designs, and we did a little cherry picking, and we spoke to a lot of people about it, and we've come up with a plan that's efficient and really beautiful, and I think it's going to give you one of the most beautiful, keeping the Saarinen. So Saarinen was one of the great architects of the world, and when he built this 30 years ago, I guess, or about that, this was considered one of the eighth wonder of the world. This was considered the greatest terminal anywhere in the country, and it is. It needs some work, it needs some fix-up, but it'll be architecturally amazing, the rounded glass and the whole thing, massive, massive sheets of glass. Cost was no object, unfortunately or fortunately, and we're going to be using that, and it's going to be fixed. We're using it again as the primary entrance, and almost that's about it, because essentially this is a brand new airport, and yet we're going to be able to work it well enough that it'll work at least as efficiently as it works right now. And in the end, you're going to end up with, I think, maybe the best airport and one of the biggest airports anywhere in the world.
Well, there you have it. You've been listening live to President Donald Trump at the White House, there with Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, announcing a new renovation project at Dulles International Airport near Washington. The project is expected to be more than $20 billion. And as you heard him saying just there, will include adding a new underground system to connect the terminals. This announcement, of course, comes as the Trump administration has received quite a bit of scrutiny for other renovation projects, including the Trump Ballroom and the revamped Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool.
And I have to say, some fighting words there from President Trump. Did you spot them?
No.
Did you? You didn't spot the fighting words that he just said in that?
No.
He said it's going to be the best airport in all of the country. And when you love MSP as much as the Minnesotans love their MSP, that's fighting words.
Do Minnesotans love MSP?
MSP is one of the best airports in the world. Even I'm on board with MSP.
I agree. I think Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport has some of the best restaurant options. It's laid out beautifully. It's easy to get around. Nothing's too far away. However, I didn't know that was I just thought that was my own personal opinion. I didn't know that was like a widespread belief.
It's a loved airport, and it consistently ranks in the top airports in the country every single year. So I wonder if they did a research trip out here to learn how to do it.
Doubt
from the
it.
Minnesotans.
I highly doubt it. We'll see. Maybe Dulles will be competition. I'm happy to take a work trip to find out. We can compare airports. All right. There was executive producer Paul Milgate. He's going to be joining us throughout the show today. For right now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with a look at your headlines right after this. Gopher fans, listen up. It's not quite football season, but we're getting a taste this afternoon with Big Ten Media Day happening in Chicago. K-Fan's Justin Gard was there and joins us now. Justin, how's it going?
It's going. I'm still here. This is the final Fox 9 car wash for me. I've been on, I think, like every show. So this is a big day for me.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
I'm glad every other sports anchor said they couldn't do this, so you had to throw me in here. That was great. I appreciate that.
Hey, you got a trip to Chicago out of it, right?
That's right. We're good. We're good. Thanks for having me.
So it's my understanding that you got a one-on-one interview with Coach Fleck today. What were some highlights?
Well, I think just everybody is happy right now because nobody's lost any games, Courtney. That's the best part about Media Day is everybody's in a good mood. Everybody had a great offseason. Everybody had a great summer. All these coaches went on lavish trips. PJ went to Croatia and Italy and all these different places, but they're all excited to get going. At the core of it, they're ready for this season to start. The Gophers will start practice on Sunday. They brought Drake Lindsey, their quarterback, Anthony Smith, the Defensive Player of the Year preseason in the Big Ten, as well as Darius Taylor and Maverick Baranowski, and they're ready to go too. It's just kind of the unofficial, as I was talking with Rob Olson earlier today, kind of the unofficial kickoff of football season. Everybody's just ready to get going.
Okay, yeah, like you said, he brought all 4 captains to Media Day today. But it was interesting. He called the high school players the meat and the potatoes of the program. What did he mean by that?
Well, what he means is for people that maybe haven't followed college football, there's the transfer portal now. So you can go get a player that's played at another college for 2 or 3 years, and they can all be juniors, seniors, fifth-year players, whatever it is. But at a program like Minnesota, he says they're 80% high school kids still. Most of the players that they recruit or that they play are original Gophers, for lack of a better term. Drake Lindsey is not a transfer. Anthony Smith, not a transfer. Maverick Baranowski, not a transfer. Darius Taylor, not a transfer. So while some schools have the ability to go out and pay a bunch of money to go grab quote-unquote free agents every year, Minnesota is not necessarily in that position. So the meat and potatoes, as PJ said, is still going to be that high school recruit that comes in as an 18-year-old and hopefully leaves at 21, 22, 23, a more finished product. So he talked a lot about that. He just got done with a podium session as well for about 45 minutes, and that was a big part of that piece as well, that they like to do things a little bit more organically than maybe some other programs are doing in college football right now.
He also brought up that they have 6 former players on the coaching staff. That seemed like a brag.
A little bit. I think what helps there is if you played for PJ, you understand PJ. And we all know he's a unique dude. He is his own guy. He's maybe a little bit different. And so I think it's probably easier for him and easier for those coaches that they all have that relationship going back to being a player. He's also had guys that have been with him all the way back since Western Michigan. Like, I think you either get PJ or you don't. And if you came here as a player and had a good experience, it's a natural progression to be one of the coaches.
Okay, let's talk about the rushing game. So in the 21-22 seasons, they had some of the best rushing game in the Big Ten.
Yep.
But the last several years have been rough.
Yeah.
Their potency on the ground has waned. Did he address that?
He did, actually. On the radio show that I did with him today, he talked about that. He said, I was not happy with really any aspect of our running game last year, and took a deep dive into why it struggled. Part of it was Darius Taylor, one of the best running backs in the Big Ten, was injured for much of the year. Their backup running back, A.J. Turner, also got injured in September. He was out for the rest of the year. So you had some inexperience at running back. You had some inexperience at offensive line. He just thought he didn't love how the running backs were moving in general a year ago. So they spent a big portion of the offseason trying to figure that out, trying to address that. And it's really important, Courtney, because one thing we haven't talked about is Drake Lindsey, the quarterback, is an NFL quarterback in college right now. He is being mock draft all over the first round, potentially even as soon as next year. You want to give him the best opportunity to succeed this season, you have to be able to run the ball. PJ's always run the ball. You mentioned the numbers from a few years ago. So they made a change at the running back coach position as well. You mentioned the former players, Muhammad Ibrahim, all-time leading rusher in school history that played for PJ. He's now in charge of the running backs. So they know that was really the biggest problem offensively last year. And the running game wasn't very good, and that led to the offense not being very good in general or very consistent. So it was a big point of emphasis and something he definitely addressed today.
In that same vein of the rushing game waning in the last several seasons, you know, a lot of people believe that Fleck's time has run out, that maybe it's time to move on. You know, he came in strong. First couple seasons were really great, and the last several have been tough, to say the least. So does he address that at all? I don't know if you guys were able to talk about that.
No, because I don't think he gets that sense. I mean, there might be some people that, are always wanting for more. I think you look at, the number of bowl games they've been to in the last handful of years, the winning records the last handful of years. They haven't had that pop season like they did in 2019 when they were 10-2. They were a game or two short here and there. But I get it. PJ's not for everybody. He's been here 10 years. But I also look at some of these other coaches that are here. Pat Fitzgerald, who's now at Michigan State. He had kind of a similar run at Northwestern, similar success. And then all of a sudden, 10, 11, 12 years in the program, they had a couple of pop seasons. So I think the program's in a good spot. I think it's when you consistently win like they have, people are always going to want a little bit more and wonder where that next pop season is. They're definitely due for it. It's just a matter of every team in the Big Ten from 4 to 16, in my opinion, are pretty much the same. You just have to win the right games and win the right moments within those games.
He definitely brings quite the culture to the team, that's for sure. What is it? I mean, I'm curious, being there at Media Day when you're there with all the other Big Ten teams, how much clout does Coach Fleck and, Drake Lindsay and those 4 captains that he brought along, how much clout do they have there in the Big Ten?
Well, you mentioned it. There's so many good teams in the Big Ten. Like today, for example, Oregon is going, Ohio State is going. Those are probably 1 and 2 in the country this season. So the crowds are certainly very big around those podiums all day. But with Anthony Smith, he's the preseason Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in front of 4 Oregon guys. That shows you how good Oregon is, that they have 4 guys considered to be in that list. So he's a popular figure today. I already mentioned Drake Lindsay with potential NFL aspirations and first-round pick grades that are coming with him. So he's gotten a lot of attention today. And generally speaking, I think the national media enjoys being around PJ because he is unique. He is different. He is full of energy all the time. You mentioned kind of how he rolls with his culture talk and everything that goes with that. So, are they a traditional have in the Big Ten, Minnesota? No, they're not. But I definitely think the last handful of years, the brand has been elevated with some of the players that we've been talking about.
And he did point out also that they're the only Big Ten team there that brought back all the coaching staff, I believe all the coaching staff, and quarterback,
right,
which was a pretty impressive point.
Yeah, both coordinators, offense and defense, and then the quarterback there, because, again, everything's transient now in college sports. Quarterbacks are on the move, coaches are on the move, and he likes to think that stability is going to help him out.
Interesting. All right, Justin Gard, we so appreciate you joining us from Chicago.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right, that was Justin Gard from KFAN reporting from the Big Ten Media Day in Chicago. Let's send it to a quick break. We'll be back with a check of your headlines. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Let's jump right into those headlines. Well, a controversy is unfolding at St. Paul City Hall as the mayor faces a city investigation into sexual harassment allegations. This after Police Chief Axel Henry filed a complaint alleging inappropriate conduct involving him and other city employees. The mayor's office says she respects city workers and regrets any unintended impact of her actions, but she's not commenting any further at this time. And cleanup continues in northeastern Wisconsin after a powerful EF3 tornado tore through the Fox Cities Monday afternoon. The storm damaged homes, businesses, and vehicles across parts of Appleton, Menasha, and Neenah, leaving thousands without power. Officials say dozens were injured, but no deaths have been reported as crews continue assessing the damage and helping residents recover. And good news out of northern Minnesota, firefighters continue to make progress as recent rain has helped crews strengthen containment lines. The Superior National Forest says some fire restrictions are being eased, allowing campfires in certain developed recreation areas and rustic campgrounds. But officials warn the risk remains and restrictions continue in the Boundary Waters and other closed areas. Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci invoked his Fifth Amendment right 111 times this afternoon during a Senate hearing focused on the COVID-19 pandemic response. Fauci declined to answer any questions from lawmakers about allegations of misconduct and the origins of the virus, saying he was following legal advice. The hearing comes as Republicans continue to question the decisions made during the pandemic. And if you're excited about football season, you'll love this. The Vikings are on the field today in Eagan for their first day of practices for training camp. We're going to bring you all the latest from there at 3 o'clock with our very own Ahmad Hicks, as we heard from Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy today as they duel it out for that quarterback position. I'm also hearing that we do now have a press conference going. So let's go live to St. Paul as some individuals are holding the People's Action Coalition against Trump is hosting a Stop the Sweeps press conference, which aims to talk about the planned evictions of encampments in St. Paul. Let's go there now live.
Yeah, cool. Let's do it. All right, we're gonna get started. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Drew Harmon, that's DREWHARMON. I organize with Minnesota 5051, and I'm here today on behalf of the People's Action Coalition Against Trump. So, about a week ago, Mayor Kaliher announced that the city of St. Paul will be sweeping and removing every encampment within the city. Meanwhile, the city has put forward no actual plan on how they're going to manage the absolute humanitarian crisis this is going to be. Not only is it an immoral move removing people from their homes, but it's a typical move done by a city and done by a country which typically marginalizes the unhoused, like we saw earlier this week with the murder of Corey Ruiz in Madison, Wisconsin at the hands of the police there. So we got a number of speakers. We have some speakers who actually live in the encampments that are going to be affected, and we have a lot of community organizations here sending representatives as well, a lot of community organizations that do a lot of work with the unhoused here in the Twin Cities. So our first speaker is going to be Lily. Lily is a St. Paul resident, a mutual aid organizer, and a member of the Stop the Sweeps Coalition, one of the main coalitions organizing today's press conference.
There's 3 mics at once. Is there any direction as to what I should be speaking into? Just this? How are we doing on this? Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you to everyone who's here today, who made it out on a hot St. Paul summer day. As Drew said, my name's Lily. I'm a housed resident in St. Paul, a mutual aid organizer, and a member of the Stop the Sweeps Coalition. Thanks to all the people and organizations who have built this campaign and made today possible. This campaign has been a broad coalition. Stop the Sweeps is built from a broad-based grassroots collective of concerned neighbors, community organizations, mutual aid groups, and encampment residents who saw a crucial need to organize after news of Mayor Herr's unilateral decision to demolish all of St. Paul's encampments was announced. Within less than 30 days' notice, dozens of residents across the Twin Cities have sprung to action. That number has grown to hundreds. And together we've hosted community meals that have brought unhoused and housed residents together. We've organized art builds to foster creativity through this struggle. And we've mobilized neighbors to pack the halls of this city hall right here, which you may have seen. Today, we'll hear a range of testimonies from folks who have been living in encampments, folks who frequently visit the encampments, and folks who have, let's just say, harsh words for the mayor's so-called plan, as well as proposed solutions for what a better path forward could be. Let me start with a bit of background, because this is often a topic that doesn't truly come to light. And when it does, it's typically just the city's narrative. On July 8th, less than a month ago, without any advance notice or consulting with basically any service providers, any shelters, any mutual aid groups, Mayor Herr's team announced, she couldn't even bear to do it herself, sent someone to announce that they would be evicting all 3 St. Paul encampments, starting, It's a disgrace. They would be starting with Pig's Eye Park, which is the largest encampment, has, no matter what the city continues to say, has around 250 unhoused St. Paulies that call it home. That plan, so-called, of Mayor Herr's would criminalize those who don't accept their barrier-filled, roach-infested, always full housing options by arresting those who attempt to start new encampments, defined in city ordinances as just a single tent. You tell me how that makes sense. As Mayor Jacob Frey has demonstrated in Minneapolis, this policy will only exacerbate the housing crisis that affects us all.
That's right. That's right.
Let me talk about 3 issues with this supposed plan. First, no encampment residents' voices were involved in this decision. St. Paul has clearly indicated that the voices of their least powerful constituents, primarily Black, Brown, Indigenous, and diasporic community members, do not matter to them. The city has decided, the mayor's office has decided unilaterally, without researching, without consulting with people, that it knows what's best. It knows what's best for you in your neighborhood, without even talking to you. That's disgraceful, and if it happened to any other member of the St. Paul community, people would be up in arms about it. The city, after immense public pressure, has only provided space for unhoused residents after the fact, telling them their perspectives do not matter, and saying, well, we have intentions, we have concepts of a plan, you might say. But we pressed them last night. What is their plan? What will they do if folks don't move? How will they be sure that people can get housed before the 5th? They have no answers. The city has no answers, the county has no answers, and that's because they don't have a plan.
That's right.
Second, there is an overwhelming amount of scientific journal-published evidence that suggests that sweeps detrimentally affect both residents' health and the long-term ability to help solve this homelessness issue.
That's right.
According to a 2025 report by the National Association of County and City Health Officials, encampment sweeps may account for up to as much as 24% of all deaths among unhoused people who use drugs. And studies have shown that unhoused people who were regularly forced to relocate experienced 70 to 90% higher death rates compared to those who weren't from overdoses. Finally, we all know that we're in a city and a county that's experiencing a budget crisis. The cost of evicting the fish hatchery camp would be upwards of $300,000 and would be just the first in a series of ongoing evictions, a carousel played with people's lives. And if St. Paul continues to follow the lead of Minneapolis, that is what will happen. And it will be your taxpayer dollars funding that. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that goes into cop overtime and contracts so that people can just move between the same 4 locations. So, as I said a couple weeks back at the City Hall public hearing, there are 2 paths forward here. There is one in which Mayor Herr, Cedric Baker, city council members, county officials, county commissioners continue to refuse to talk to actual residents, to collaborate with mutual aid groups, to collaborate with neighborhood district councils. They continue to refuse to align their approaches with actual medical and public health research, and they continue to use taxpayer funds in a meaningless merry-go-round. This path would reveal, and I expect will reveal, that any commitment by the city and county to so-called human decency is a farce. It is all smoke and mirrors. I don't care how many photo ops you do down there if you haven't talked to anyone. Can you actually name residents? Can you tell me about their families? Can you tell me what they're going through? Or are you just here so that you can post it on Instagram? The other path that we could take from this moment involves an all-hands-on-deck, creative, collaborative plan that centers the voices, most of all, of the residents in the encampments themselves. Because after all, this is their home. This is the home that they've got. This is the community that they've got. This plan could understand the harms that sweeps cause and look to successful examples, like the over 25-year-old successful sanctioned encampment in Portland, Oregon, called the Dignity Village. There are real-world examples of finding another path. You just actually have to want to do it, not just talk about your intentions or your imaginations. With that, the Stop the Sweeps Coalition demands 3 things. First, that the city create a team or a committee within the city that can coordinate services and create solutions, and not only includes, but gives agency and decision-making power to people who have recently or are currently experiencing homelessness in the encampments.
That's right.
Second, end the policy of making all encampments illegal. Put a hold on the sweeps and commit to only evicting encampments if the previously mentioned group of residents and non-residents alike comes to a decision that that's necessary and beneficial. Residents know their own needs best. Third, and perhaps most significantly, we demand that the Ramsey County and the city of St. Paul stop removing quote-unquote storage tents, quote-unquote abandoned tents, because what that is a pretense to destroy people's lives, to take their documents, to wipe out everything that they hold dear. We want investment for safer, cleaner, healthier camps. How about a porta potty at camp for, more than 100 people? That's currently the ratio at Fish Hatch, roughly speaking, and it gets serviced, once a week? Is that where you want to go to the bathroom? It would cost so little for such basic sanitation improvements. A hand washing station. Do you want to know how many of those you can find in this building where 0 people live?
That's right.
Wheelchair accessible restrooms, potable water. These are basic elements of human dignity that the city and county have refused to provide for years. And now they use it as justification for destroying people's lives.
That's right.
Until these demands are met, the Stop the Sweeps Coalition will do everything in its power to campaign for public accountability and for the resignation of those who are responsible for this humanitarian crisis. Yes, that's Mayor Cowley Herr. That's Assistant Mayor Cedric Baker. Those are the donors to Herr's campaign. Those are every single county commissioner. Those are every single city council member who has not spoken out publicly against these sweeps, who have stayed silent, as in many cases their own constituents are about to be affected in the worst possible days of their lives, as well as St. Paul Police and Camish Excavations, who are ultimately responsible for destroying our neighbors' homes under the threat of violence. And if these demands are not met by August 3rd, we are calling for everyone who has empathy for their neighbors, who cares about human dignity, to come and support their neighbors as they face this threat of state violence on August 5th. Show up. This includes all of you, all members of the press. If you come with empathy and care and consideration in your heart, please, it is your job to get the story right and to hear from folks who are living through it, not just the city's press releases.
That's right.
So come down to Pig's Eye Park on the 5th, the 6th, the 7th. See if the city actually helps people find housing. See if the city actually provides each resident with a bed, as they have supposedly committed to doing. The city can barely define what success looks like, what their plan looks like, because they don't actually have one. So I'm excited to see what happens when the rubber hits the pavement, because this is folks' home, and you cannot wipe out people's homes with no plan. I will see you down there on the 5th, because the city is nothing if not intransigent and paternalistic, but we know that there can be no peace until there is justice. Right. No justice, no peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lily. So just to touch on something Lily said, $300,000 to clear Fish Hatch alone, and yet no money is going towards actually improving the lives of the people, of the hundreds of people living there right now. Shame. And one more thing, I know over 100,000 people in the Twin Cities were mobilized during Operation Metro Surge to defend their neighbors. That's right. If anything, August 3rd, August 4th, August 5th, there's only a few places to go. There's only a handful of places to go to defend our neighbors. It's going to be easier. We can do this, so answer that call too. So next we're going to call on some of the residents of the encampments to come speak. So do we have Leah here? Leah? We don't have Leah. Do we have Fink? No Fink. Do we have Mike? See who made it. And if not, we can always come back later if they end up coming a little late. We got Ryan? Jason? Gigi? June? All right, seems like people might be running behind. But if anyone sees any of them, please let them know. We want to give them a chance to speak. So next up to speak, we have Sourdough. Sourdough is a co-struggler and an organizer with Rising Waters Mutual Aid, and we're happy to have you speak today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, I'm Sourdough with Rising Waters Mutual Aid. We're a mutual aid group that started a couple years ago, mostly when we realized that our unhoused neighbors don't have any access to fresh water at all, except for the water that folk bring there. We started organizing to try and meet that need as best we can, and we bring out over 1,000 bottles of water a week to each of the camps in St. Paul, across the 3 camps. Woo! We were about a couple weeks away from doubling that volume to about 2,000 bottles of water a week when we heard the mayor's announcement. For some calibration, 2,000 bottles of water a week would be close, not full, but close to meeting the water need for just potable drinkable water at the largest camp alone. So that's something that the community has had to organize to do because the city refuses to.
Shame!
Shame. So let's talk a little bit more about what the city could do. We've already heard that it'll cost somewhere around $300,000 to clear only Pig's Eye Park. The reason we say somewhere around that is because the city hasn't told us how much it costs. We have to estimate. But for $300,000, I'll tell you what you could do. You could get standalone, new, accessible ADA-compliant laundry and shower trailers that would allow multiple people, like around 4 to 6 people, to be doing laundry, washer or dryer, and showering at the same time. That could be staffed all day across the 3 camps. We could have around 100 fire rings distributed across the camps to help deal with some of the fire concerns the city says it has. We could provide fire extinguishers. Even though in theory fire training was offered to our unhoused neighbors, no fire extinguishers have been given to any camp resident other than by groups that bring them out from the community. Shame. We could have all manner of additional things. There are so many things that could be done to improve everything. Mobile clinics could be set up, more serious shelters that are just temporary but in location without having to displace everyone could be set up. There are so many things that could be done just for the cost of what they plan to spend for the initial clearing of Pig's Eye Park, let alone the $1 million that was just spent in our budget crisis to open 49 new beds. Not even remotely enough to get everyone in Fish Hatch, Pig's Eye Park, any place to sleep, much less all the rest of the camp residents who are going to be kicked out shortly thereafter.
That's right.
One final thing I want to take a moment to say before I pass it on to other people that have more to communicate and more to share about what the city's plans entail for our neighbors. None of this needed to happen. This all came out of nowhere, completely unilaterally. No one was consulted. But more than that, no one was given any chance to figure out what was happening, right? We were told in theory a month in advance, right? July 8th. That's great, but we weren't told any details. We still haven't been told any details. So far, we've only been told very vague things the city plans. So here's one. Assistant Mayor Cedric Baker is not only committed to getting a bed for every single resident in St. Paul, something we know is not feasible, certainly not by the 5th of August. He's also committed to saying the city will not enforce the ordinance against solo campers, even though he admitted in that same discussion that the ordinance is absolutely written to ban camping by solo campers. I don't know why we would take the city at its word now when it's done everything it can to avoid giving us any detail or time to prep meaningfully for our neighbors. I don't have much more to say other than that none of this needed to happen. The entire community is doing everything it can, and the city is doing nothing. And I suppose going to try and provide enforcement rather than services. That's not how I want my city to be operating. I hope it's not how you want yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Woo! Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sourdough. Yeah, I heard we got Leah here, right? All right, here we got someone named Cash going up next. Cash.
Well, my name is Cash. I'm from the Pig's Eye Camp, and I like to say I'm very disappointed in how things are being handled, and like the abruptly surprise attack that we're facing against the sweep. It's crazy. Nobody even get to vote for this. You know what I'm saying? Like this literally came out of nowhere. No petitions, nothing. Just gotta leave.
That's right.
Not only that, they're the ones that gave us the tents when we got kicked out of the homes to live in the first place.
Yep.
And I don't understand how people could go to sleep at night knowing what they're doing, what's going to happen on the 5th. How they can eat a meal, you know what I'm saying? Knowing that we're not. I mean, I guess nobody would understand unless you've been in our shoes, but you can all have imagination, I hope. Our encampment there is not what they like to put out. They think it's all just drugs and whatever, whatnot. Yes, we might do that to, you know what I'm saying, cope with our stress of what's going on with the bare minimum support that we have.
Right.
Do you know how hard it is to wake up every morning already hot and thirsty, knowing that you can't go to the store and get anything to drink because you have no money, and wondering where you're going to get that drink? Do you guys know how hard it is to wake up already hungry, wondering if the food truck is going to come in today? I mean, it literally takes just a little bit of effort from everybody that actually have genuine effort to help this situation. If they can spend $3 billion on a stadium and a tip of a hat because it's a stadium for sports, why can't it do for their own citizens?
That's right.
It's like pulling teeth. I just hope something changes. Anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cash. I mean, what you said is true, right? You can't understand a situation until you're living it. But all we're asking the city to have is just an ounce of empathy. Just an ounce of empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes, thinking that it's wrong to remove people from their homes. That's not a big ask to make. Very basic human decency right there. All right. So up next, we got Pau. Pau is an organizer with the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice. We're grateful to have you here. And Pau's going to talk a little bit more about broader issues facing the unhoused community in our nation as well.
Hey. Yeah, I'm here to talk about St. Paul's biggest unhoused encampment. As you know, that there's an eviction on August 5th, and it will be devastating for the residents of this encampment. It is a community that does not have anything or anywhere to go. This is connected to Corey Ruiz, who was a black man that was unhoused in Madison, Wisconsin, and he was killed by Madison police on July 22nd, 2026.
Shame.
The police violence continues in Black, Indigenous, and immigrant communities, and for our community members who are unhoused. The police have this consistent assumption that black people are violent criminals and are not worthy of protection and safety. The police expected and assumed that because Ruiz was a black unhoused man, he was not worthy of value or protection or care. This shows how the police continue to perceive and treat our unhoused communities. I work with the unhoused communities and I understand how the police move. They move as if our unhoused communities are a problem that must be handled, while they continue to create more difficulty for our unhoused communities, for our working class communities, for our folks, the folks living in poverty. The focus on policing instead of resourcing has brought us to a dead end. The police continue to harm and cause violence to our unhoused communities by evicting residents at the encampments and by telling them to contact social services for support when there is justified mistrust and an expectation of what deems you worthy of the care and support from these social services as an unhoused person. Yeah. Why do the police continue to dehumanize our unhoused community members, especially if they are black? Do elected leaders ever consider why we have our housing crisis in this country? If we cannot profit from our unhoused communities and our disabled communities, our MAD communities, they become a problem of the police. Our unhoused communities are perceived by the cops as a threat to status quo and must be hidden or removed, whether that is evicting the encampments, putting them in institutions, or killing them. They do not think of building housing for them or using the empty buildings, the empty building space, right, that is scattered throughout the city to house folks and to care for them. But they continue to tell unhoused folks to use social services that are already overwhelmed and under-resourced. The resources of social services continue to be cut, and our unhoused communities are expected to use resources that have eligibility requirements that must shrink them, or they're not even eligible already, to fit into what they consider folks are worthy of housing. Or the other option is institutionalizing them. Our unhoused communities are worthy of care and protection the way they want and need their housing to be. Sorry. Police do not care for our unhoused members. This is one of the many reasons why at TCC4J, Twin Cities Coalition for Justice, we organize for community control of the police in Minneapolis through an all-elected civilian police accountability commission. The police are present to enforce the law and never to protect the people, especially communities that do not create capital. The police continue to harass our unhoused neighbors instead of giving them vouchers for housing or any multitude solutions that are very possible. The police have an abundance of funding that could be used to take care of our unhoused communities. Instead, this funding is used to push out our unhoused community out of everywhere they land to find stability. Folks need a housing first approach. Until then, the encampment is what provides community. And support and care for the residents, right? And the police have never and will never be the protection, care, or support for our communities, especially our black unhoused neighbors.
Okay, you've been hearing from opponents to planned evictions at St. Paul encampments. They claim that sweeps will only exacerbate the housing crisis, as they don't think it's the proper way to respond to cleaning up the homeless problem in St. Paul. The first planned closure for encampments is set for August 5th at Pig's Eye Park. That's probably the biggest encampment there in St. Paul. Additional encampments will close on a rolling basis after that. The city of St. Paul has said this is due to safety concerns and health concerns. But like you heard there, opponents are not happy about these plans. Switching gears here, I want to welcome in meteorologist Erica Marisic because it is still hot and steamy outside today.
It is. It's pretty much the same temperature as yesterday, but the dew point's up just the slightest amount. But the slightest amount still makes a big difference because it feels like it's about 95 once we get into the peak of the afternoon. So feeling just a tad warmer than yesterday. And then I have some graphics if we can pull those up here real quick. So there's a high pressure center that's bringing in the
air
No to the
from the
graphics,
south.
Erica.
Oh man, next time.
It's
But
a no.
basically, the air is rolling in from the south, so that's why it's warm. And it's going to also be a warm day tomorrow. Now, tomorrow there's a chance for some rain showers. They're going to move in from the west in the afternoon. Could be some storms, level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather in western Minnesota for wind and hail Thursday. That'll be afternoon, evening. And then that reaches the metro by late evening, overnight. And then it'll linger into Friday morning and then exit east, southeast, midday Friday, perhaps Friday afternoon. So that's going to bring rainfall. And then it's mostly looking like it's still difficult to tell with the forecast models exactly where the heaviest rain is going to be at. But I do think that it'll be in the middle to lower half of the state more than the upper half. But there should still be rain everywhere, just a matter of who gets more. So I think it will be areas central and south. There we go. Okay, so there's the high pressure center, and then you can see right now there's nothing happening. So today's a dry day. Because it's humid, there could just be like an isolated shower at times, and then also hot, and temperatures could feel like those mid-90s. So that's why there's a heat advisory for our friends up towards the north. And then today so far it reached 90. Typically it's 83, so another day where above average temperatures. And right now across the area, 80s to 90s for the most part. It is 60 in Grand Marais.
Wow.
But it feels warmer, especially for people west, because that's where it's slightly more humid. So it feels like 100 triple digits in Morris, Wilmer, and it feels like 93 here in the Twin Cities with 80s east.
Look at Detroit Lakes, 102. Come on.
I know. So quite a hot one again. And into tomorrow, gonna stay warm. And then Thursday is when you see that chance for some showers, some storms rolling in. Friday, more rain, rumbles possible. And then, yeah, that clears out by midday, afternoon, evening time frame Friday. And then that's going to drop temperatures. So highs are going to turn into, for some, even the 70s, upper 70s on Friday, 80s for others, low 80s. And then after that, stays in the 80s for the weekend. And it's a pretty nice weekend.
That will feel nice, but first we got to get through this. I want to ask you about drought conditions because we are expecting some precipitation, but much of the state is still in drought conditions. Am I wrong?
Yeah, we are. There's a severe drought still for north central Minnesota. So that area definitely could use the rain. So yeah, I think most of the rain will be central south, but they'll still get a little bit.
Well, the wildfire fight really could use some precipitation too, but it doesn't look like they're going to get much.
Not much, a little bit, but they could use more.
They could use it. Okay, great. I appreciate it, Erica.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh. There voices in my head again. What's going on here? Erica Morazic, thanks so much. We'll have her back in a little bit. Do you want me to go straight to Ahmad since he's ready? Okay, all right. I love this game. This is fun. All right, so Vikings training camp it got started this week. The players take the field in practice. Ahmad Hicks joins us now. Ahmad, you got to hear from several people today. Brian Flores, defensive coordinator, the quarterbacks. Quite a day out there in Eagan.
Yeah, it was quite a day, Courtney. The temperature's up. J.J. McCarthy told us all to make sure we're hydrated. The Vikings have a water cooler for us and plenty of, sunscreen lotion and things like that. So we're doing good right now for day one of Vikings training camp. We did hear from the quarterbacks earlier today. Some pretty vanilla stuff, as it's the first day. So nothing, too glaring or anything like that. But I'm sure we'll have more to report on following the first practice.
Let's talk about Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator, because he spoke first today. He's widely regarded as one of the NFL's top defensive minds. And many believe that under his leadership, the Vikings defense has become one of the NFL's most opportunistic units. He did talk about first-round pick Caleb Banks today.
Yep.
What did he have to say about him?
Yeah, I asked him about Caleb and just how excited he was to finally get him out on the turf and see what he can do. And he said he's very excited about him and a slew of other guys up front. Dominique Orange, a couple of other guys, young guys, Jake Golday. He said they've all been having a pretty exciting and intense ramp up here to training camp. And he's eager to get them on the grass and see what they can do. But as far as expectations and things like that and what he's expecting of Caleb Banks, nothing's placed right there right now. Coach Flores said he just wants to see everybody on his unit get better day by day, one day at a time. As cliche as it sounds, we've kind of entered that calendar of cliche sound bites, when the football rolls around, Courtney.
That's right. What did he say about building on their success in defense? I know he just signed a contract extension in January, so I'm sure he's ready to get to work. But what did he say about building on the success that he's already had?
Another cliche answer. Someone actually asked that. Alec Lewis of The Athletic said, where do you take your scheme from here? After you've been around a number of years, how can you guys improve? And he said, look, I just said it. He said, I'll say it again, though. Get better one day at a time. Focus on what you can control and, just let the process play itself out. So he didn't give away anything, but I just think the more pass rushers you have, when you talk about a Caleb Banks, when you talk about a Dominique, Big Citrus and what he's what he may be able to do for this defensive front. Dallas Turner, he talked about, is going to step into a new role. So I think, it all depends on who's up front. But what he did say was there's not one superstar of this defense where you expect this guy to, pick up the slack and just be the savior. He said it's a team effort. It's all 11 guys rallying to the football and doing their job. And, you heard some criticism from former players, Javon Hargrave, who said that's not a good defense for a defensive lineman because all you do is eat up holes and free up other people. All right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what Flores said today. It's a team game. Not going to be any standout superstars, he doesn't think.
Interesting. Okay, let's switch gears to the quarterback competition that's happening there. I know. It's like we're not going to stop talking about this until they make a decision, Ahmad.
We can't.
Kyler Murray said that he's taking it one day at a time. What does he mean by that?
Same thing that Brian Flores means. I mean, look, these guys know in the back of their heads what they want, what's obtainable, what's not obtainable. And them just saying, hey, I'm taking it one day at a time is making sure that they don't give us, the media members, any click-worthy sound bites, anything that's going to send social media friends and make them, clip that soundbite and blow it up. So I think for Kyler Murray, it's not getting too high, not getting too low. You're talking about playing in a new offense, playing with new skilled players and things like that. So you may have a great practice one day, and then Brian Flores may get the best of you the second day. And so that's what he means by taking it one day at a time. And I think that's what J.J. McCarthy said, too. They both just want to control what they can control. A lot of people will make a lot of comments about the number of reps, who's going in first, who's doing what. Those guys say they're not worried about that. They look at the script and say, hey, here's my number. That's when I go in. Let's go ball when I get in.
He did talk about taking reps with Justin Jefferson. What did he have to say about that?
He said everything about Justin Jefferson is greatness. He said he was asked about his standard and what he thinks about Justin Jefferson's standard, and he said it's greatness, and he's chasing it each and every day, and it's been on full display since he signed with the Vikings. So I think right now we all know the Vikings are eager to have a quarterback who can get Justin Jefferson the ball. They gave him a $90 million signing bonus for a reason because he's one of the best receivers in the NFL, and they want him to play like that this year. And although it wasn't his case last year, his fault, he didn't play like that last year. And they don't want a repeat of that because if you do, then you may sip into some wide receiver drama, maybe. So yeah, they want to keep JJ happy and Justin Jefferson, that is, and get him the football this year.
Yeah, every quarterback in the NFL would love to throw to JJ. He's just that incredible. You asked McCarthy, JJ McCarthy, about competing for the job. What did he say when you asked him about that?
It was a mumble-jumbled answer. I mean, honestly, I took away, it was just him trying to say the right thing and not get in any trouble. Basically, I asked him, I said, you've been competing since you've been playing football. What does competition bring out? And being a former athlete, I think it brings out the best in you. You either rise to the occasion or you sink. And I think J.J. McCarthy, who's very strong mentally, has proven that he's built for this challenge. Well, will he be able to compete? We'll see. But he's one of those guys that just said that he's focused on maybe not doing too much. Maybe it was too much prep work last year. Maybe it was too much, treatment, etc. So tweaking his regimen, his schedule just a little bit, but also going back to what they said, taking it one day at a time and controlling what they can control.
O'Connell said yesterday that they want an elevator at the quarterback position. Do you have any idea what that means?
A guy that makes everybody around you better. A guy that makes the defense better by being able to convert on a third down and give your defense an extra blow. A guy who can scramble and pick up a first down on third down and keep your offense on the field when you need to eat up some clock. A guy who's an elevator is a guy who makes everybody around them better and they just go up. And so that's what they want to see from their quarterback position, and that's what they didn't get last year. I mean, you had Max Brosmer, you had Carson Wentz. I mean, you had J.J. McCarthy. No matter who was in, it didn't seem like they elevated the guys around them. And I think that's what they want to see this year.
Lastly, Brian O'Neill just re-signed, the offensive tackle. He took to the podium today. Seemed pretty excited about re-signing with the Vikings. Seems like this is what he wanted.
Yeah, 4-year, $96 million extension. He said he's been one of those guys that he's never been a guy to use doubt to motivate him. So he said the people that doubt him, he does not like to prove them wrong. He likes to prove the people who believe in him right. And he said he's wanted to be here. He wasn't a big fan of sitting out OTAs and minicamp as they went through contract negotiations because he likes to be involved. He likes to take every snap. He likes to be, around his teammates and things like that. So he was very happy to re-sign with the Vikings and to be here long term. But someone asked him, they said, what's something that stood out to you throughout your entire career here with the Vikings? And he said nothing. He said, we've won one playoff game in 8 years. He was like, I want to be remembered for leading several charges, to get over the hump, and to make several runs towards a Super Bowl. And so that was very telling. He said that there's a intensity in the meeting rooms, in the practice field, in the weight rooms, everywhere around the organization that he has not seen the last 3 years. So kind of excited to see what that means. I wanted to ask him, but I knew he wouldn't elaborate with all the cameras there. So maybe pull him to the side later and ask him what he meant by, the ramped up intensity inside the meeting rooms and things like that. It seemed like the Vikings are in a win now mode, and they understand that, getting to the playoffs isn't good enough anymore. They need to win in the playoffs.
All right, you pull him to the side and you keep us posted during the 5 o'clock news, all right?
I got you. Thanks, Court.
All right, thanks, Ahmad. Ahmad Hicks live from the Eagan training facility covering Vikings training camp. The Vikings are set to open the preseason August 15th against the New York Giants before starting the regular season September 13th versus the Green Bay Packers. We're going to take it to a quick break. We'll be back after this. welcome back. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Let's jump right into your headlines before we go to a live report from Menasha, Wisconsin, where a tornado touched down Monday afternoon. Well, controversy is unfolding in St. Paul this afternoon as the mayor faces sexual assault allegations, sexual harassment allegations, I should say. This after Police Chief Axel Henry filed a complaint alleging inappropriate conduct involving him and other city employees. The mayor's office says that she respects city workers and regrets any unintended impact of her actions, but she is not commenting pending further investigation. And like I mentioned, that tornado that touched down in Wisconsin on Monday, that EF3 tornado, cleanup continues there today. The storm damaged homes, businesses, and vehicles across parts of Appleton, Menasha, and Neenah, leaving thousands without power. Officials say dozens were injured. Amazingly, no one was killed, something that they credit to the fact that this tornado hit in the middle of the workday. But they continue to assess damage and help neighbors recover. And firefighters are making progress up north against those wildfires that have hit the Arrowhead region as some recent precipitation, not much, has helped crews strengthen those containment lines. The Superior National Forest says some fire restrictions are being eased, allowing campfires in certain developed recreation areas and rustic campgrounds. But officials warn the risk remains and restrictions continue in the Boundary Waters and other closed areas. Dr. Anthony Fauci invoked his Fifth Amendment rights today during a Senate hearing focused on the COVID-19 pandemic response. Fauci declined to answer any questions from lawmakers about allegations of misconduct and the origins of the virus, saying he was following legal advice. The hearing comes as Republicans continue to question the decisions made during the pandemic. All right. I am told that we have Fox 6 Milwaukee reporter Christina Van Zelst on the line. Christina, I hear that you're in Menasha today covering the cleanup. What do things look like 48 hours after this tornado touchdown?
You know, it's still devastating to see. We are on Manitowoc Road here in Menasha, and there are still a long road ahead for the cleanup here. I'm going to flip my camera around just so you can see the angles that I'm seeing here. So this is on Manitowoc Road, and I was here yesterday. The biggest thing that I've noticed in terms of the cleanup progress is that the streets have been cleared from a lot of the debris. This one, maybe not so much, but across the city, a lot of the debris has been at least removed from the road so that emergency vehicles can get through. Now the issue, though, still is getting power back on. As you can see right here, there's a power line still entangled in the rubble. And we know some residents have had their power restored, which is good news. That happened this morning, but still a long way to go here in Menasha. And crews are asking people to stay away from these areas just so they can get their trucks through here to work on cleaning it up. But just devastating throughout the entire city. It's a very widespread, that EF3 tornado that touched down here. So a lot of volunteers are coming in from other counties to help. This right here is just an example of a building that you can see through the roof there. I was here yesterday at this exact same location, and this looks pretty much the same. But again, some people are with power again, so that is good news. They are under a oil advisory here in Menasha, so that's another challenge we've heard from folks, is that they can't boil their water because they don't have any power. So it's just a ripple effect of the storm destruction that it's caused here in the city.
I know that they declared an emergency declaration. Does that mean National Guard is coming in to help? What does it mean, and what kind of help are they getting from the state?
Yeah, so there is a press conference that's happening at 4:00 today. We're hoping to get more information regarding that. They mentioned that in a press conference yesterday, that they are looking to the National Guard to come in and help and with the cleanup. Right now, in terms of the help, I was talking with fire departments that have come in from other counties to help provide resources. One thing is their water supply, their water utility treatment center that was damaged in the storm. So the fire departments from surrounding counties have come in to supply water in case there is a structure fire. So a lot of surrounding areas have come in to help, but we're hoping to learn more on that specific, if the National Guard is coming in and what kind of help that will look like in about 40 minutes or so.
You know, Christina, I've covered many tornadoes in my career on the ground like you are now. And I know that a lot of times we have this problem of gawkers coming in. So people who just want to see the damage. Have there been any notices go out about, you know, discouraging people from coming to town to gawk?
Yes, actually, that is something we've even seen ourselves, and something that law enforcement, the police department is reminding people every press conference, every update. Please stay away if you don't live here. And even if you live here, to stay in place, because I mean, just this shot right here, you can see the power lines in the middle of the road on the sidewalk, and they don't want people, for safety reasons, number one, coming here, but also number two, they need the space for their crews to get in and respond to streets like this one, where there is still a lot of debris to be picked up in the street. So they are seeing that here. We've unfortunately seen it as well. And they are reminding folks, please do not drive through the area. Do not come here if you don't have to, just so that, number one, people can stay safe, but two, they can get the job done.
Just incredible. I mean, I'm looking at all those downed trees, destroyed homes, and I'm not seeing a single worker there. I'm sure it's really hard to, I bet all the tree guys are booked up, so it's probably tough. But have they given you a timeline for how long these recovery efforts will take?
They have not given a timeline. And you mentioned the crews, the utility crews and the tree crews. We have seen a few, but again, every street you turn on, it's just destruction. And so they are obviously very busy and bringing in those additional resources. But as of a time frame, we have not gotten that just yet. Again, there are some people that have their power restored today, so that's good news. But just seeing how many utility poles are still down and the lines that are still entangled in the debris, it's, I think, going to be quite some time, but I'm not an expert. So hopefully during that 4 o'clock press conference, they'll have a little bit more of an update for people who live here on the timeline of what they can expect for that.
Yeah, it's just incredible when you see those power lines that have just been ripped out of the ground. I can't imagine that's a quick fix. So Christina Van Zels with Fox 6 Milwaukee, we so appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Stay safe out there. All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. right, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. We are going to have one of our in-house reporters on in just a bit to talk about these sexual harassment claims against St. Paul Mayor Kali Her. Kali Her's office has said that to protect confidentiality and the integrity of the investigation process, they weren't going to comment any further, just saying that she regretted any unintended impact her actions may have had. Meanwhile, Chief Henry's office, who made the complaint in the St. Paul Police Department, also not commenting today. So we'll get the full update from Emily. Did you say Emily is ready? Okay, let's give her some time to get settled, and then we'll go out to her. Since you're talking to me in my ear, Paul, you want to just pop up and say hello?
On the screen. Hello. Whenever you see Courtney kind of just look a little bit confused, it's usually because I'm talking to her while she's talking to another.
Yeah, they love to make it look like I hear voices in my head. The truth is, I do hear voices in my head.
We like to make it look like you know everything. You're all omnipotent. You know everything that's going on and what's going to happen next. And
I try.
But, you know
I
what?
try my best.
Some things about you do concern me just a little bit, if I'm completely honest, Courtney Godfrey. To peel back the curtain for everyone at home that thinks she is this, got everything together, check this out.
This is going to trigger some people,
This
Paul.
is and not while driving. She's parked here. To be very
But I
clear,
was while driving. I parked to take the photo, but I did drink that entire cup of coffee while driving to work this morning, and I did it wearing white pants. And I feel like people are going to be very triggered by this. Like, one of our colleagues here said that this is a total mom move, that all the moms are drinking their coffee in open mugs as they're driving. I had no idea, but I guess once you become a mother, this is what you do.
To be honest, I don't know what's the most reckless thing about that. The open coffee, the white pants. I mean, I'm a firm user of a reusable coffee cup, and I manage to spill that everywhere I go. You can ask Kevin Casey from our IT department. I'm spilling coffee back here, left, right, and centre, and that's in a closed container. What are you doing with an open coffee mug?
I certainly own open. I own the reusable ones with the lid. I have hundreds of them in the cabinet, but the coffee machine, it was in the cup, and my husband made me a nice cup of coffee with almond milk in it and a little bit of collagen. I think he put creatine in it. It was a nice little cocktail, and I just walked out with it. I don't know. It would be one added step to then pour it into a reusable mug, and it's a step that I just can't get behind. That's another dish in the dishwasher.
Yeah, that's the concern. When you're driving with an open coffee in a car, that's the dishwasher.
Let me tell you though, on my social media, I've gotten a lot of comments about this.
I can imagine.
And all the moms in my comments are like, heck yeah, do it every day. So maybe our colleagues who told me that this was a mom thing are onto something.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, look, Courtney Godfrey, it looks like you've got everything together, but on the surface you're like a duck just there.
Let me tell you, appearances can be deceiving, Paul. All right, I do hear that we've got Emily on the line, so let's go to her now. Emily, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay, so you're covering this today. Mayor Her is being accused of sexual harassment. Can you just get us up to speed at what's going on?
Sure. So this is reporting from the Star Tribune and New York Times. First broke last night. Basically, the St. Paul police chief their attorney sent a letter to the city attorney accusing Mayor Her of sending inappropriate and sexual messages and making comments regarding the police chief and, according to the police chief's attorney, other city staff or city employees as well. They're referencing some incidents that happened back in the spring. So this is some months ago, and specifically one incident that the attorney for the police chief brings up is a message that allegedly Her sent to an employee, a city employee, that had some sexual innuendo in it. And so again, this all coming from reporting from the Star Tribune. that broke yesterday. Now, according to this letter that they've obtained, there's going to be some investigation into her conduct, and they are also reporting that the city of St. Paul has hired an outside law firm to handle this as well.
So in this complaint, the chief is listed as the complainant, but his attorney says he's actually filing on behalf of other city employees.
Right, yeah, and that goes back to some of what I said. The chief does say in this complaint or this letter to the city attorney about this complaint that they're filing, right? He says that he decided to come forward after understanding that these weren't isolated incidents, he says. I just want to read you a quote actually from this letter that the Strib obtained. He says that Chief Henry filed the complaint after, quote, becoming aware that the mayor's conduct has extended beyond isolated incidents. So sounds very serious potentially. And that's kind of what I'm getting from the people that I've reached out to at City Hall today as well, that they are taking this pretty seriously.
Okay, I know that you've reached out to, it sounds like every member of the city council. What are they saying?
A lot of them don't really want to touch this. There are a lot of them are saying no comments. They're waiting for this investigation to play out. I did get one response from Councilmember Nelsie Yang's office. She says, quote, these are serious allegations. An independent investigation is underway, and it's important that process be allowed to proceed. She says we will respect that process and evaluate any findings once that's complete. I've also reached back out to the city attorney's office for any updates on this investigation. And I've also reached out to the mayor's office as well. We did get a comment from Mayor Herr's office yesterday saying that the mayor has deep respect for employees and regrets any unintended impact that her actions may have had. So sounding a little apologetic there, but really minimal comment from City Hall at this point.
You've talked to an employment lawyer. What could the consequences be of this, according to the employment lawyers that you've spoken to?
Well, the employment lawyer I spoke to didn't want to touch too heavily on the specifics of this case because, again, that open investigation. But what I can tell you is the employment lawyer, she's been in the biz for, she says, I think 40 years. And what she's found is that people are very casual with their devices, with their cell phones, laptops. She says people don't take writing a text as seriously as they do like writing a letter or writing a work email, when really you should be taking everything that seriously, because work is kind of where you are. If you are texting a coworker, even if it's on your personal phone, that can be included in work. If you're at an event with a coworker and it's after hours, but that coworker is there, that can still be considered work. So her message was, you have to be on your best behavior at all times. You just do. You cannot be sending any sort of innuendos, even if it's on a personal phone, even if it's after hours. Again, she's not commenting on the specifics of this case, and this investigation is ongoing. There's nothing really confirmed, and she's not commenting on that. But still, best practices to keep in mind.
Yeah, don't put anything in writing, whether it's text, email, WhatsApp, whatever. What happens next?
Well, part of this investigation, we do kind of have a hint of what that looks like from this letter that the police chief's attorney sent to the city about this complaint. The police chief's attorney says that he wants the city to look into the data from all of Mayor Herr's phones. It mentions specifically each of Mayor Herr's phones. So again, that's going back to what that employment attorney I spoke to says, is just any sort of device can be subject to an investigation. when something like this happens. So we know that that's going to be part of it. And then we'll get those findings. And the city council member that I heard back from today says that they're going to evaluate the findings and take steps based on that.
All right, Emily Pofall with Fox 9, I appreciate you joining us. All right, thanks to Emily for that. Paul, can you get these full screens pulled up? I want to read some of what we have from the city and from the police chief and the mayor as everyone responds to this. Of course, this broke last night. But in that April 1st letter from Chief Henry's attorney, Chris Medell, which was sent to the St. Paul city attorney, the attorney argues that the future litigation is reasonably foreseeable. He demands that the city immediately take all steps necessary to perform a full file system extraction of each of Mayor Herr's mobile phones, like Emily just mentioned. That would include any personal phones, not just work phones, because it may contain sensitive material that relates to work. St. Paul is on notice that Mayor Herr has engaged in illegal conduct towards city employees. That was all outlined in that letter from Chief Henry's attorney. Mayor Herr responding to this letter and these allegations today, saying in a statement, to protect confidentiality and the integrity of the process, the city will not comment on an active investigation. The mayor has deep respect for city employees and regrets any unintended impact her actions may have had. And then finally, we also reached out to Chief Henry's attorney, who said Chief Henry just helped crack a triple homicide in under 4 hours. That's the work he's focused on right now, keeping citizens safe. No comment behind that. So clearly, Chief Henry does not want this to become the conversation. He wants instead the work that he's doing in the police department to be the conversation. But here we are talking about these allegations, these serious allegations against the mayor of St. Paul. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Well, if your idea of a wild Wednesday involves fresh air as opposed to maybe, Netflix, happy hour, bottle of Chardonnay, that's what I'll be doing tonight. Lake Elmo Park Reserve is right up your alley because they are hosting a full moon forest bathing event tonight. And if you're wondering what the heck forest bathing is, well, me too. Paul Milgate, I feel like you might be an expert on this.
You know what? I saw this and I was like, this is right up my alley. I bet it's not up Courtney's alley. That's what I thought.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Look, there are a couple of things I'm really interested to get our guest in to talk about it, because there is a difference between just this is a guided event as well. So that's something to be said. So this is a ticketed event. This isn't just wandering through a park by yourself at nighttime. David is going to guide you through that experience. So I think the best thing to do with us when we really don't understand what's going on here is to bring our guest David.
But
in.
Paul,
Yes.
Paul, before we bring our guest in,
Yes. Yeah.
if you had to guess what forest bathing is, what would be your best guess?
Well, I feel like because I researched a little bit on this segment, it's unfair for me to say that. I would like to know what you think it is.
Oh, you're unfun. Well, I'm picturing like a nice clawfoot bathtub in the middle of the redwood forest, maybe some jasmine aromatherapy. That's what I'm picturing.
Enjoying nature?
Enjoying nature in a bathtub.
Okay, well, I think you might be a little bit disappointed with hearing that there's no claw-footed bath involved in this forest bathing event. Forest bathing, look, I'm not the expert in this, but our guest David is. So why don't you introduce him and I'll jump back in at the relevant times.
Yeah, that's right. David Motzenbecker is a forest bathing expert guide. He's going to be guiding the event tonight at Lake Elmo Park Reserve, and he joins us now. David, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate being able to educate everyone in this interesting activity.
Yes, as you heard, our imagination's running wild. We all want to know what forest bathing is. Fill us in. What is this?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not your clawfoot tub. It is also not Marco Polo in the trees with swimming suits on or anything like that. The actual word comes from Japan. In the Japanese language, it's Shinrin-yoku. And that translates as taking in the forest air with all of your senses. Now, somewhere along the line, someone decided that that sounded like forest bathing. I don't know who, but we're stuck with it. But yes, it's focused on the senses. So it's a slowed down, immersive experience. We go for 2 hours, and it just gets you tuned into each one of your senses, even things like the sense of gravity or the sense of proprioception, which is how your body senses where it is in space, along with the standard 5 senses.
Okay, I have so many questions, David. Do you actually hike the forest, or are you seated, or are you laying down? Are there yoga mats? How does this work?
A little of all of the above. So we give everybody a little seat pad to sit on, to carry with them, little foam pad, so they can keep their butts dry and not dirty if they choose. And then we walk out into the woods at Lake Elmo Park Reserve. We are partnering with Washington County Parks on this, so all the registration is on their website. But we walk out into the woods. We start at about 9 o'clock, so we make sure the moon is coming up tonight, specifically because we're doing a full moon walk. And then we kind of start our immersion by tuning into all of the senses, kind of walking everybody through smell, sight, hearing, slowing them down, getting them out of the parking lot, out of their heads a little bit until it's time to be really in the woods, kind of a gateway in, so to speak. Then we do a series of different invitations, we call them. So we invite people to sit quietly and smell the forest around them. What do you smell? Do that for 10 minutes. Then we come back together and we share what we noticed about that. Different people notice different things. So it's always fun to hear what your fellow forest walkers are able to notice. Then we do things like listening. You know, how many owls do you hear? Can you hear the lake lapping at the bottom of the hill? The breeze moving through the trees, these kinds of things. Then we'll do specific moon-related invitations tonight. So those I'm keeping secret because we want people out there.
So it sounds a lot like guided meditation.
A little bit, except I'm not with you the whole time. So I give you that invitation, then everybody goes off to find a spot where they're comfortable and they want to be. So you're alone with your thoughts and nature. And then I call everybody back together after time is up. I don't want people looking at their phones. This is a phone-free, tech-free experience. This is also just all technology free. So I'm using an analog watch. I'm timing people, and hopefully they're getting lost in the experience. Then I call people back together when time is up, and then we, as a group, talk through those things we notice. So it's kind of a both and, a solo and a group thing. Building community, building connection to nature. It's really positive. It's very relaxing. And just like any practice, meditation, yoga, playing the piano, the more you do it, the better you get at it and the more you tend to get out of it.
And David, this isn't just a one-off thing. You've done plenty of these as well. But what makes tonight, it's a full moon, I believe. Is that correct?
It is. It just passed. Yesterday was the full moon, but today is just passed, so it's essentially still quite full. And
is that what allows that to happen tonight in the evening, as opposed to forest bathing during the day, or like what makes the full moon experience so special?
It's really amazing because you'd be surprised how much your eyes are able to adapt to the light. I give everybody little red flashlights because red light helps your eyes see in the dark without ruining it like a white flashlight can. That kind of blinds you and it kind of ruins the environment. Most people end up not even using the flashlights at all because the moon is so bright, you can see the path through the woods, you can see all around you with just that moonlight. So we look at the moon shadows. We'll look at the different things that the moon brings out. We'll talk about what the moon is. What does it do? We've had Artemis 2 just go to the moon. So we got some really great perspectives of what it's like to be out past the moon, looking back at this little planet of ours. So thinking about some philosophical approaches as well. Where do we fit in this giant universe of ours, and how do we connect with the very earth that we're on? So we look a little bit philosophically at things as a part of nature. Us human beings need to treat it maybe a little bit better, and this is a way to connect in a deeper way than most people do on just a regular hike or sitting in their backyard.
What's the goal of this, David?
There is none. That's the goal, and that's why it's so enjoyable. There's no, unlike a hike where, you're set to, I gotta get 2 miles in on this hike, or I gotta walk the dog and get back to cook dinner. The goal, I guess, is to wander, is to let your mind go, to slow down, and to let your senses really tell you what's going on. How many times a day do you really pay attention to what your senses are telling you? How many times a day do you notice how your environment makes you feel better or at unease? When you're stuck in traffic, you certainly feel unease, right? But when you're in a beautiful wooded environment with the full moon shining down on you, it can be very powerful and relaxing and awe-inspiring. And awe is a huge trigger for making you feel better. There's also an amazing amount of research that has come in the past 30 years to reinforce these kinds of immersion activities. We all know intuitively that being outside is good for us. What is amazing is now there's metrics and research to back that intuition up. For instance, after 20 minutes walking in the forest, your blood pressure and your stress hormone cortisol drop by approximately 20%. Just after 20 minutes. If you walk in a tree-lined neighborhood, if you walk in a central business district, those numbers don't change at all. And this study has been repeated numerous times to the same result. And that says something about being in a forested environment physically changes your body. Your body reacts to it and says, I'm going to turn that blood pressure down because this feels good. I'm going to turn that stress down. It boosts your immune system. A Japanese study showed after 4 hours in the woods, people's natural killer cells, their cancer-killing white blood cell count, boosted by 46%. That's almost doubling your immune system capacity. And depending on each person's physiology, that higher level stuck around for a week to a month afterwards. So there, just on 2 studies alone, we're 20 minutes in the woods and you're relaxed, you're calmer than you would be otherwise. And after a longer period of time, your immune system is boosted. Who couldn't use boosted immune system going into cold and flu season in the fall, right? And who couldn't like to be calmer and more at ease? There's a ton of other stuff. Your alpha waves in your brain, which make you stressed out and focused, it reverses those when you're in the forest, calming you down. Nice. It turns on your rest and digest systems.
Yeah,
so there's lots of stuff. Anyway,
you're selling me on this, David. I feel calm just listening to you describe it.
There we go.
So on that note, who is this geared towards? I mean, is it just for the tree-hugging yogis, or is this for the busy lawyer working 80 hours a week?
I would say it's for the busy lawyer. I just came off of giving a presentation to the Minnesota State Bar Association during their annual convention. We talked about the need for this for busy professionals. I would say that's the number one person, but we get a wide cross-section of people, from teenagers to retirees to folks in the middle. It draws all sorts, not just the tree huggers. In fact, there are very little of those folks come on these trips, but it's great.
How do you limit outside noise, at a public park? I'm just imagining road noise or, teenagers taking to the trail. How do you limit that outside noise so that the people in the class can just focus on what's happening around them?
It's more of a framing of expectations. Clearly, you can't control ambient noise, especially in the urban core where we are. And so it's setting expectations, understanding it as part of this experience. You're probably going to hear some car noise, or you might hear a jet airplane go overhead. But one of the reasons I scout the parks that I do is because they do have much quieter locales, and on a whole, they're much quieter and softer than certain other parks. And so I've chosen those specifically for these walks. And again, tonight, especially at 9 to 11 at night, hopefully it'll be a little quieter than it might be during the day. But again, it's just setting the expectation. There's going to be people who might walk by and are laughing, and that's okay. You just, like in meditation, you recognize it, you let it go by.
What's your case for paying $45 for this when, I could do this on my own?
You could do it on your own, but being guided is like in yoga, for instance, right? It's a very similar price point to a yoga class. And you can do yoga by yourself at home, watching the television as well. It's kind of taking that pressure off of you to be the person to follow all the things and to do. You're just there. You're accepting, you're listening, and you're letting someone else take the lead in the process. And it can be a deeper, richer experience being guided than it can doing it yourself. That being said, I designed the state's first certified forest bathing trail at Silverwood Park in St. Anthony, which has little signs all along it that anybody can go there and read the invitation on the sign and do it at your own pace and experience forest bathing that way. So there is that opportunity.
Wow. Very cool. Is it sold out? Are there tickets still available if I want to come
tonight?
There
are tickets still available tonight. So you can sign up through Washington County Parks activities page, and hopefully I'll see you there.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, listen, you changed my mind, David. I'm kind of, I'm intrigued. The studies don't lie. Being out in nature and in the woods is good for the soul, good for the body, good for the mind. David Motzenbecker, a forest bathing expert guide. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, I got to bring Paul back in on this one because I'm not going. I was a skeptic, Paul, and I think I'm in.
Is that what we're doing tonight?
Listen, if I didn't have plans tonight, what is that, Grace?
I'm pretty sure
Grace gave one of these behind you.
I think your plans are a bottle of Chardonnay and a face mask. Isn't that what you said to me in the ad break?
That's usually what my plans are on a Wednesday night, but I'm going to the Shakopee Amphitheater to see Chris Stapleton. So I will be busy tonight, but I'm not. Listen, I think the whole all-day team needs to do a forest bathing event.
Book it.
Book it.
Book it.
Because we could use the stress relief. I felt the stress lift off my shoulders just talking to him about it.
Yeah, I would like David just to read me books.
I would.
That would just feel very calm. I'd feel very calm.
His voice was very soothing.
Yeah, and imagine being in nature, hearing the crickets chirping, the fresh breeze. It's
touching the bark. Listen,
really
when I was hosting the Paralympics back in March, we were in the studio for all day, 8 hours, and we were in Stamford, Connecticut. There was absolutely no greenery around. And after about 4 days, I said, I just need to hug a tree. And I went and as soon as I got out of the studio, I found the nearest tree, and I think I held on to that tree for a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I've been in a really big city and just eventually get out into nature, it is like a physiological change, right? You just feel that relief of getting out into
You
nature.
just need to hug a tree sometimes,
Some
Paul.
of us just need to hug a tree.
Yeah, okay. Interesting chat. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Paul. I appreciate it. All right, full moon forest bathing happening tonight. Lake Elmo Park Reserve from 9 to 11 p.m. Tickets still available on the Washington County Parks website. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. We want to take you live to Wisconsin right now, where a press conference is going on regarding the cleanup efforts following a powerful EF3 tornado that tore through the Fox cities on Monday. Take a listen.
Trees are being removed from the roadways. Utility crews are hard at work, and we're working on trying to get back to some sense of normalcy, but it's going to take time. It's going to take days and weeks. So thank you for that, and I'm happy to announce that we're working on it. The next step in our process is we are working on securing contractors to begin the debris removal from our city and the village of Fox Crossing. Once those contractors are procured, we will provide updates on the emergency management website on how and what that schedule may look like. We're hoping that information will be available soon. If people are ambitious and want to begin their own debris removal, they can take it to the Outagamie or Winnebago County landfills. However, if they do that, be advised there will likely be cost incurred, and if they do incur those costs, to save those for any insurance claims they may file. The debris pickup curbside will be provided by the municipalities. Again, tonight, we will be enforcing a 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew that will be for the whole city of Menasha and village of Fox Crossing east of the Fox River. Last night, in our city, we began to see some activities that we did not want. We did have to take law enforcement action against people in the city who were causing some issues. I'm going to be the first person to say we are not going to tolerate that activity. We ask people to respect the victims of our city who have just gone through probably the worst day and days of their lives. We do not need people coming here or people in the city causing problems and re-victimizing them. For that reason, we are increasing our patrols both through our own agency and through our neighboring law enforcement partners. And we are going to have a zero tolerance policy for those people that are out during the curfew and are not acting in a responsible manner or have official business to conduct in the city. As we continue the cleanup, we are seeing an increase in outside agencies and personnel coming in to help. Some of those include contractors. We are advising people to be cautious of any contractors or scenarios that you think may be a scam. Our community liaison officer has posted tips and things to watch out for on our social media page, so that we hope people are not victims of these scams. Unfortunately, again, we do have those that are going to try and take advantage of our residents, and we want to arm people with the knowledge that does not happen. So, as we continue, our curfew will likely continue each night from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. for the coming days until we feel that there's enough order restored in the city that we can eliminate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Sturgill, the village manager for the village of Fox Crossing. I very much appreciate everything that Chief Ulrich said. He speaks definitely for Fox Crossing in regards to the curfew and any potential lawlessness or other unsavory actions occurring. These people are suffering right now, and we don't need any additional problems occurring. I wanted to state that the boil alert for the east side of Fox Crossing Utilities is still in effect. That would include the east side of the village of Fox Crossing, and then any residents in the city of Appleton or the village of Harrison who utilize Fox Crossing Utilities. And so we are looking for the end of the week, the weekend, the beginning of next week, for that to finally be resolved. We are making tremendous progress. This was a very complicated problem. We got hit very hard at our plants and Menasha Utilities as well. So it was a significant hit to our utilities. So we're very grateful that we're able to make progress that we've been making. The other important item I wanted to bring up is due to the severe damage that the Fox Crossing Community Center faced on Valley Road. That is actually one of our polling locations. We were planning to use that, and we've used that for years as one of our locations for our elections. We have the upcoming August 11th primary elections coming up. So we are taking action right now to do an emergency transfer of polling location. We will be, our hope is to join the polling with our current other polling location on the east side, which is located at the Pentecostals of Fox City's church at 1445 Midway Road. So that is going, so all the residents who would normally be voting at the community center, that building is too damaged, we can't use it, so we're going through the process now. So I just want to put that note out there for anybody who is a community center voter, you know who you are. Please know that you will be voting at the Pentecostals of Fox City's church for August 11th and most likely for the November election as well. If you're in, early voting is still occurring at the municipal complex on Municipal Drive. So if you want to just bypass that whole problem and come in and vote early, the hours are on our website, so you can certainly do that as well. Thank
you. Good afternoon. Winnebago County Executive Gordon Hintz. We've obviously seen a tremendous outpouring of support from community members wanting to volunteer to help. That's why we have set up this volunteer reception center at the Winnebago County Fox Cities campus here that is being run by Volunteer Fox Cities. Anyone who is wishing to volunteer is being asked to report to our Fox Cities campus to volunteer intake and deployment. The Volunteer Reception Center will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We had over 600 volunteers come through the Volunteer Reception Center this morning. These volunteers have been screened, organized, and deployed to receive donations and deploy those resources in the community. Crews have also been dispatched to work on debris cleanup. Volunteers have been going out into neighborhoods to pick up brush, clean up streets, and aid in the reopening of municipal streets. We've had a lot of interest in people who want to give donations or want to contribute in some way. And I want to let people know that the best way to make a material contribution really is in the form of a monetary donation. Financial contributions can be used and targeted to the biggest need that is out there. Financial contributions to the community-wide recovery effort can be made through the Fox Cities United Way. Please visit their website and see the pop-up link to donate to the recovery effort that we have here in the community. We've heard from residents about the needs in the neighborhoods for porta potties, charging stations, cooling shelters, and resource distribution sites. I can tell you that resources are being coordinated and deployed in a rapid fashion, and many of those things are underway and being set up. The most up-to-date information on everything will be available on the Winnebago County Tornado Event webpage. Visit winnebagocountywi.gov and click the Assistance Alert banner for the most current list of resources. Now I'll turn it over to Caroline. Oh, sorry, I didn't. Wrong order. That's right. Said Caroline.
Hey, good afternoon. Dan Sloy, Superintendent of Menasha Joint School District. Before I get started, I'd like to update and acknowledge our families and staff members who have experienced significant damage to their homes and property. Our thoughts are with everyone, our staff, our students, and our families as our community continues to recover from this difficult time. I am deeply grateful, as others, for the outpouring of support of volunteerism and also our family, staff, and students in our surrounding school districts who have reached out offering resources and support. It has been unwavering, and it just shows what an amazing community we have, but also Northeast Wisconsin, what it means to everyone. The safety and well-being of our students, staff, and families and community members continues to be our #1 priority in the district. Our district teams are continuing to assess every school, facility, and structure to make sure that it is safe for our students and staff and families when they return. As we have stated and know, Geoghegan Elementary and Culver Stadium Calder Stadium was the most damaged and impacted by this, but we continue to be diligent with all of our facilities to make sure that they will be safe. We do not have a timeline at this point when we will reopen our buildings and our facilities, but we are continuing to work diligently. Menasha is a caring and resilient community. Before coming here today, I was able to go to a resident of one of the teachers of Geoghan Elementary School who opened up their house and home to the staff and teachers of Geoghan Elementary. What I witnessed there was what we're witnessing throughout our community. People that care deeply about their school, about their community, and their commitment to the students and families that will be Geoghan Elementary students. So at this time, I want to thank them because they are showing what is really important for our community and as we move forward. That tradition, pride, and sense of community will get us all through this and we'll come out stronger. Thank you.
Hi, I am Carolyn Hoffensberger, Emergency Management Specialist for Winnebago County. Beginning tomorrow, Thursday, July 30th, Winnebago County Emergency Management will begin preliminary damage assessments. The purpose of these damage assessments is to determine the magnitude of damage and impact that has resulted from disasters. It does not guarantee federal or state assistance. It is one of the early steps in seeking approval for these assistance programs to become available. The groups completing the preliminary damage assessments will be from Winnebago County Emergency Management, Public Health and Human Services, the Outagamie County Community Emergency Response Team, and neighboring county emergency management and public health departments will be supporting these efforts. The damage assessment teams will be wearing high visibility vests and will have proper identification. They will not enter your homes or businesses. Residents impacted by the severe weather do not need to be home while the preliminary damage assessments are conducted. Completing the preliminary damage assessments is a critical step in the emergency response and recovery process. We also want to take this opportunity to remind community members that many of the affected buildings are unsafe. The City of Menasha will be posting on each affected dwelling a declaration of inspected, restricted use, or unsafe. Again, that is inspected, restricted use, or unsafe. This is so residents have clear information about how to proceed. For more information on the process, please contact the City of Menasha Building Inspections at 920-967-3655. That is 920-967-3655. Thank you.
So we would just like to thank everyone for coming to the press conference today. We would just like to say, in addition to the over 600 volunteers that have came to the VRC today, there were the amount is over 1,000 when you factor in all the responders from yesterday at 1 p.m. And we would just like to say that this need is not going to go away. This need of level of volunteers is going to continue for the next week or two as our community rebuilds from this devastating tornado. And we would just like to remind everybody that if you signed up on the Volunteer Fox Cities website to be contacted and you haven't been received the email back from them yet, they have asked for us to tell you, just come in person to the Winnebago Fox Cities campus to register in person and get deployed within 30 minutes of your arrival to help your community. At this time, we're going to start taking questions, and we will start on my right-hand side.
Yeah, for Chief, the activities you saw post-curfew overnight, can you give any specifics on what those were and if you made any arrests, if so, how many?
Sure. So we made 2 arrests last night. Both arrests were for failing to obey lawful orders. There were individuals located going through some of the debris. We believe that they were attempting to take property that wasn't theirs and then were not cooperating with law enforcement. We also discovered people from out of town coming into the city in violation of our curfew order. Many of those were just contacted and willingly left. But we're urging people, please do not come into the city after dark. It is not safe. There are still many hazards. That's the purpose of the curfew. We want people to stay safe, and we do not want to put our first responders in jeopardy trying to make sure these things are not occurring.
Thank you. Just go one more time. For Chief, you have people, all of you really urge people not to go to impacted areas in general, whether it's light or dark. How do you enforce that? Can you enforce that?
So our enforcement strategy right now is we're just asking for voluntary compliance. We're asking the people that do not need to be in these areas, please don't come. I just had a conversation with our utility workers that traffic is becoming so congested that they're not efficiently able to get supplies to the affected areas. If we have continued gawkers, people who are out driving around or doing things that aren't essential to the recovery efforts, we may end up putting more strict traffic constraints in place, which is only going to make things harder for our residents to do their own work. So we're asking people to please, if you are not essential or not volunteering, don't need to have a vehicle in the city, please just stay out. If you want to look at the damage or see damage, please go online. There are plenty of photos. There are excellent drone coverage. If you want to see the devastation, you can do that without coming to the city.
This one's for County Executive Hintz. I guess you talked a little bit about efforts to bring supplies into communities like porta potties, charging stations, cooling stations. I guess, could you just describe that in a little more detail? Are those like some of the harder hit areas you're trying to get stuff in there?
Sure. A number of people that are in the community that are cleaning their house out, trying to clean debris, but maybe can't access their own bathroom, would have to drive out of there each time. And so, you've kind of got an unprecedented set of circumstances. So trying to make it easier to bring charging stations, water, porta potties to where people are so they can work continuously, I think is a recognition that people are putting long hours and long days. And we were hearing that's an issue, and we're trying to be responsive to people's needs to meet the reality on the ground for so many people that so they don't have to disrupt the work that they're doing.
Next question will come from Kyle.
Do we have an update on when the timeline on energy being restored to some of the areas of Menasha?
Yes, Mayor Hammond will answer those.
Thank you for the question. So power status updates from Menasha Utilities. They continue to make progress restoring power to more homes and businesses across their communities. We know that it's welcoming news for those families, but also recognize that many of our neighbors are still waiting. Please understand that restoring power is complex. Utility crews must repair damage in specific order to safely restore electricity to the greatest number of customers as possible. While it may not always be obvious why crews are working in one location before another, every repair is part of the larger complex issue, so please have patience and understanding that our crews are working tirelessly to do that. Crews from 16 municipalities are assisting Menasha Utility under different and often dangerous conditions. The best way you can help them is by giving them the space that they need to do their job safely. Please stay away from these areas where line workers are operating. I cannot stress the point enough earlier that our chief was making. If you don't need to be in the city of Menasha, please don't. We look forward to welcoming you at a later date at our community events, in our downtown shops. But residents in our community are going through some of the darkest moments of their life right now, and people are trying to do the important work. So if you want to be involved, please come to the Fox Cities campus where we are today. Join in, help out with Volunteer Fox Cities. We welcome the help, but if you're here to be in the affected areas to gawk or to look at the things, please don't. Our residents have been through a lot and they're trying to rebuild our community. And I would just express that we are grateful for the extraordinary work that these crews are doing. And we ask for everyone to be patient. We know the days ahead are going to be long, they're going to be challenging, they're going to be difficult. But the best way that we can serve one another is joining into collective partnership with each other and giving each other the grace that we need in the coming days and weeks. So thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Did you have a rough timeline of when the power could be restored?
So some areas in our city have had power restored already. I can't really give a specific on what dates to expect that. Some areas in our community are much impacted to a greater severity than others. I hope it's in the coming days that you will continue to see more and more power restored throughout our city, but please know that our utility crews are tirelessly working. ATC's here working around the clock. Other municipalities, utility companies are here to help us get through this. But a big part of that is what's mentioned earlier in this press conference is they really need the space to be able to do this job safely, and we also are coordinating to get debris and other aspects of it removed so they can continue to do that important work. Thank you.
Making the roads accessible again, especially 3rd Street, so that residents can eventually get in and out. What does that process look like, and is there any timeline on that? I'm sure it's a long process, but any insight on that?
Well, debris removal is still ongoing throughout the day and throughout the evening. It wouldn't be right to speculate an exact time when a specific street such as 3rd Street will be open, but crews are working relentlessly to get the roads open, and part of that involves on 3rd Street, like was mentioned, every single power pole is having to be picked up, removed, and a new one is put in place, and that is just taking a significant amount of time. There are numerous large 4 or 5 foot diameter trees that are all still blocking some of the interior roads, and that must be done first before we can get in there and start removing other debris and start handling the rest of the cleanup. But that is a goal of the city of Menasha and Fox Crossing and Winnebago County to get those roads open and safely as fast as possible. Next question, right here. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, for the village administrator, I know we talked a little bit about merging of polling places. Given that election day is just a few weeks away, what's the timeline for merging those two in-person polling places?
Yeah, the goal is we have a special meeting called for tomorrow for the village board. Board must take action to give the clerk approval to do so. There is a process set out by state statute and the Wisconsin Election Commission. We are in talks with them constantly. So everybody knows we're doing this meeting, everybody at WEC and the village board. We're trying to make that happen. And then there's a notification process. That's why we're actually trying to move on this right away and get this going so that we can get the information out there. There will have to be by law a poll worker stationed at the community center. So should someone walk up not aware, we will be directing them. That's by law. We have to do that. We would do that anyway. So there is a procedure in place. It's just we're following the procedure. We just want to get the information out there. And again, I'd like to stress that if you're a voter who normally votes at the community center and you want to just vote now and not have to worry about it, we do have early voting at the municipal complex. So you can come in. The hours, they're different depending upon the day, but they're on the website, so please check that out. And then you can come in and vote, and then you don't even have to worry about the issue. Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? We'll start back over here and we'll come back around.
Yeah, probably for the county exec. Feeding America is saying they are hearing roughly 700 families displaced in the area from the tornado. Is that the number you're experiencing, more or less?
I don't know. I don't have that, on hand. I know Feeding America has been involved in working on things. I think.
All right. You have been listening to a press conference out of Winnebago County where they are offering an update on cleanup efforts after an EF3 tornado hit that community on Monday afternoon. Switching gears here, back to some national news. Former White House COVID advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci appeared before a Republican-led Senate committee today, invoking the Fifth Amendment as lawmakers questioned him and his handling of the pandemic. He invoked the Fifth Amendment exactly 111 times. Take a listen to some of that hearing.
Committee. I served at the NIH for over 54 years, 38 of those as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Over that period, I proved that I believe in and respect the value of legitimate congressional oversight. In fact, I testified before and/or briefed Senate and House Senate and House committees well over 200 times over those 38 years. During and after the COVID pandemic, I have appeared multiple times for hearings in the Senate and the House, usually under oath, and sat for several days-long transcribed sworn interviews, answering questions about the very issues that are now the subject of this hearing. However, given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
Dr. Fauci, would you like to at least answer this one question for us today and let us know whether or not you've changed your mind on whether or not the benefits of gain-of-function research outweigh the risks?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And that answer right there is exactly what Fauci said after every single question from lawmakers this afternoon, pleading the Fifth 111 times throughout that hearing. We're going to bring in political expert David Schultz after this. David is going to break down what happened in that Senate committee hearing today and what happens next. Stay right there. Welcome back. Former White House COVID advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci appeared before a Republican-led Senate committee today, invoking the Fifth Amendment as lawmakers question him about his handling of the pandemic and the origins of COVID-19. David Schultz is a political science professor at Hamline University, and he joins us now. David, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Courtney.
He invoked the Fifth Amendment 111 times. That's a lot of times saying the same exact line. What was going on?
Well, he decided at this point that he did not want to testify or say anything, feeling that, again, his words or his attorney's words, feeling that the investigation was illegitimate and they were going to try to trap him into something so that they could eventually bring him up on perjury. So instead of testifying, he showed up, which he's required to do, but opted not to say anything.
How common is that? I mean, clearly it's legal. How common is it that you see somebody called before a Senate committee and they decide to invoke the Fifth?
Well, it depends on how you define common here. Is that if we go back over, let's say, the last 50 years or so, we've actually had quite a few people who have invoked the Fifth Amendment when called to testify before Congress. For example, among some of the most notable figures, let's go back to the 1980s. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, when he was called upon to testify about what was called Iran-Contra, he invoked the Fifth Amendment, as did John Poindexter, one of Ronald Reagan's national security advisors. During the 1990s, Susan McDougal, who was a friend of the Clinton administration, invoked the Fifth. And then we could walk through each decade where we've had a variety of people, including, for example, most recently, after the January 6th events on the U.S. Capitol, both John Eastman, an advisor to Donald Trump, as well as Jeffrey Clark, who was I think an assistant attorney general for Trump, also invoked the Fifth. And so it's not uncommon to do it. If we were to go further back in time, during the 1950s, during the McCarthy hearings, invocation of the Fifth Amendment regularly occurred by people asked to testify before either the House or Senate Un-American Activities Committees.
So at the end of the hearing, Senator Rand Paul said that they'll vote next week on whether to hold the now retired doctor in contempt. From your legal perspective, would that be possible? Could he be in contempt? I mean, he's being accused of, he was trying to avoid being accused of lying under oath by invoking the Fifth. But is that possible?
Well, it's possible that they try to indict him. Would he be convicted? The answer is no. A couple things to understand here is that there are limits on how far Congress can go in terms of its investigatory power. However, it's still broad. If you refuse to show up to a subpoena required to show up to Congress, then of course you could be held in contempt of Congress, and that could be criminally prosecuted. But if you show up and invoke your Fifth Amendment right, no, you are not obstructing justice. You are not in contempt. You cannot be held in contempt of Congress for invoking your constitutional right on the Fifth Amendment. And he's basically invoking his rights. One of the lines that I like is back in the 1980s when Oliver North was testifying before Congress, and he was invoking the Fifth Amendment. And at some point, people criticize him and say, "You shouldn't invoke the Fifth Amendment. You should testify." Oliver North had what I still think is a wonderful line where he said, people died face first in the mud defending the Fifth Amendment and the Bill of Rights. And I think that's basically true. We have as one of our most fundamental rights the right not to incriminate ourselves. And we can do that without fear that we are going to be charged with a crime for invoking our rights.
What would you say to the people who say, well, by him continually taking the Fifth, that it made him look guilty? Whether he is lying or not, it made him look guilty by not just simply answering the questions.
Well, a couple of different answers here. One, if it were in a court of law, let's say we were actually in a court of law and somebody's accused of a crime and they decide not to testify, the prosecution may not tell the jury or may not refer to the jury and say, hey, look at this guy didn't testify or this person didn't testify. He obviously must be guilty. You can't do that. That's punishing somebody, again, for the invocation of their rights. However, in a situation like this, where he says, I'm not going to testify, I'm going to invoke my rights, maybe the optics do look bad, but at the end of the day, he has that right to be able to do that in the same way that Oliver North, in the same way that John Poindexter, in the same way that anybody else who's called to testify before Congress has that right to be able to do that. Whatever inferences people want to draw from that, that's a different story entirely.
Fauci's attorney tried to stand up and explain why he was invoking the Fifth to every question that was asked, and Senator Rand Paul kicked him out of the room. Can you just talk about, why was he allowed in the room, and then was Rand Paul allowed to kick him out of the room?
Congress has pretty broad leeway in terms of who they allow in or who they don't allow in to their chambers. Can he basically say that his attorney can't accompany him? Yes, they probably can do that. But if the whole purpose of that is to coerce or force Anthony Fauci to give up his Fifth Amendment rights, then that's a real major problem at that point. And so if, for example, they were now to try to indict Fauci for, let's say, contempt of Congress for refusing to answer. Again, as I pointed out before, you can't indict somebody or you can't convict somebody for the invocation of their Fifth Amendment rights. But two, if they're now trying to coerce him and say that you can't seek out legal counsel in terms of testimony, that raises other legal issues too.
Is that usually allowed to have your attorney with you and have them speak on your behalf, or does the attorney have to be a registered speaker ahead of time?
It's going to depend on the rules that the committee sets up. It's generally they want the person testifying themselves, but there could be some scenarios where they allow the attorney to speak for the person that they're questioning. But generally, the answer is going to be if they bring Jane or John Doe before a committee, they want Jane or John Doe to speak and not the attorney to speak.
Fauci called this hearing, he pointed out Senator Rand Paul, he claims, has an unhinged obsession with him. Meanwhile, Paul responded at the end of the hearing saying that his questions were legitimate, often scientific. Is this an obsession, or were these legitimate questions that were legally allowed to be asked?
It all depends on your political perspective. That's interesting here. Does Congress have broad leeway to gather information as part of its investigatory power, its oversight power? No question about that. However, the courts have also said there are outer limits to how far beyond Congress can go. Take us back to Trump's first term, where I can't remember if it was the House or the Senate now, wanted Trump's income tax records. The case went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said that if the purpose of Congress is what I'm going to call, in my words now, a fishing expedition, then they're not entitled to them, and you can't do that. If the purpose is just to harass, that's illegitimate. But if you can show there's a legitimate purpose in terms of your questioning, then you're allowed to ask those questions. But again, a witness is allowed to refuse to testify. Now, and this is what happened with Oliver North, if at the end of the day you really want information, if you really wanted to know more about, let's say, the origin of the pandemic, they could do what they did with Oliver North and grant him immunity from prosecution. And so if it's truly about gathering information, granting immunity from prosecution is always the option to use.
So speaking of granting immunity, former President Joe Biden did give Fauci a pardon early last year. So even if lawmakers vote to find him in contempt, does that pardon protect him now, or does it only protect him from issues in the past?
That's a really good question here. I'd have to go back and look at what exactly the pardon said. I mean, if the pardon basically said for any crimes that may have been committed or possibly committed in the past, then it wouldn't protect him going forward. But it all depends on how broad. Presidents have incredibly broad pardoning power. I mean, theoretically, a president could come into office on day one and issue what we call a prospective pardon and say, I'm going to pardon my staff from any crimes they may commit in the next 4 years. We also know that after Richard Nixon resigned, Gerald Ford pardoned him, even though Nixon had never been indicted for a crime. And the court said the president's allowed to do that. So again, presidents do have broad pardoning power, but I'd have to go back and look at exactly what that pardon said in terms of, was it only retrospective, perspective, how broad it is. I guess I can't answer that question right now.
So what happens next? I mean, if these lawmakers move forward with trying to find him in contempt, what will happen next?
Well, if they find him in contempt of court, they would then have to get the Justice Department to indict him. At that point, there'd be an indictment. He would go to court. And I would presume at that point, his attorney would move to have the indictment dismissed, arguing that his invocation of the Fifth Amendment is not obstruction of justice or contempt of, not contempt of Congress, not contempt of court, is not contempt of Congress, and therefore the case ought to be dismissed.
So interesting. It was interesting to watch throughout the afternoon. So appreciate you joining the show. David Schultz, political science professor at Hamline University. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Courtney. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. This is the part of the show where we like to take a look at what's trending on the internet. It's also just the part of the show where Grace loves to put in videos of animals all over the country in a segment that we like to call, Wait, What's Happening? Because what is actually happening in this next video, a possum, an aerobatic possum, if I may say so, was caught, what did I say? Did I not
You said aerobatic.
Oh,
which, I mean, is kind of interesting.
Acrobatic.
Again, behind the curtain, everyone, I whispered into her ear, acrobatic, trying to make her look more omnipotent, like she knows what's going on. And she just decided to just bring you all along for the journey.
Acrobatic.
Acrobatic, as in acrobats at the circus.
What's crazy, I have a master's degree in journalism, and I just can't talk sometimes.
You know what? You've been on air for almost 3 hours. I think it's understandable.
Well, he was caught walking the rafters of a Walmart store in Texas. Take a look at this. That is quite acrobatic.
Going to pay this month's
of
rent.
that possum. Yeah, so this video was captured in Fort Worth, Texas at a Walmart store. It shows the opossum nimbly navigating the building's ceiling structure as people chatted excitedly below. As you could hear, I think everybody had their phones out watching this encounter. Obviously, opossums are known as being incredible climbers. And fun fact, Paul Milgate, the animal expert, did you know that opossums are America's only marsupial?
I did actually know that. Yes, they have a vestigial pouch, the same way that marsupials in Australia have pouches. How much detail do you want me to go into?
Are you from Australia or something?
They think that these possums may be split when, if you believe in how the plates separated around the world, they think that from when Gondwana, which is the supercontinent that had Africa, Australia and South America all together, they think that that was the last time that opossums were with their marsupial friends. There you go. What I am interested to mention here about social media, it does raise lots of questions. Why is a tree climbing animal climbing things going viral? I don't quite understand that, because that's just doing what it would normally do.
Yeah, I don't really want an opossum in my Walmart store. So,
well, where would you like your opossums?
In a
Courtney?
tree.
Yeah.
Climbing through my trash. You know, where I grew up, the opossums would go through the trash. The raccoons would too, but the opossums seem to take a liking to the trash. And this next video, speaking of where I'm from, this next video is also involves an animal and is a little closer to where I'm from, out of California. So this next video shows a great white shark leaping out of the water. So an individual caught this video in Newport Beach. He was filming his brother-in-law surfing off the coast, and upon second review of the video, they see this juvenile great white shark just leaping out of the water. Take a watch.
Nice.
Did you see it? There it is, right there in the background. Looked, you know, I don't know who confirmed that this was a great white shark, because to me, that looked a lot like a seal, Paul.
Yeah, I'm trying to zoom in here. Let me just see what we can do here. See if I can actually, I'm trying to, look, you know what? Let's dissect this here for a second. And some might say that we have jumped the shark, this show. Are you familiar with that term?
Nope.
Jump the shark is when a show has really run its course. That's the term that they use in film for when it's a TV show, for a TV show that has run its course. Going back to an episode of Happy Days where the Fonz jumped a great white shark on his motorbike or on a surfboard.
Should I take this personally? Is this commentary on the host?
I don't know, but let's just take a look, see here. Look, I was with you. I didn't know if this was a great white shark. For those of you, I mean, I don't know if I can zoom here.
Well, I'll say this. I grew up in California, and it is not uncommon to see great whites when you're out surfing. That's why I never took up surfing, because it scared me too much. And from where I'm from, the water is quite murky. Where you're from, Paul, you see sharks quite often too, but at least the water is often crystal clear.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a run up before you realize you're about to get eaten. It's not just out of the blue. Look, I think, I'm going to raise one more thing that I think is a little bit concerning about this video. Everyone's kind of going, oh, look at this possibly juvenile great white shark jumping out of the water. The question I have is, what has made that shark jump out of the water? Is there something much bigger, much scarier underneath that shark is trying to get away from?
Well, according to Cal State Long Beach Shark Lab expert Christopher Lowe, he told KTLA that the shark was likely breaching to scratch an itch or just for fun.
Sure. I think let's just speculate wildly and make it way more exciting. There was a giant great white shark that was trying to eat it.
Well, then that surfer should consider himself lucky.
Very, very lucky. Have you ever seen a great white shark in your swims out in the ocean?
You know, I have not, thank goodness. As a kid, I was so scared of great whites that I would never go past the surf line. So you knew not to swim past where those surfers were catching the wave. The surfers would go out and sit past where the waves broke, and that's where I wouldn't go, because that's where they were always seen. You know, I went to high school with kids who would go surf before they showed up for class at 8 a.m. and they'd, I saw a shark this morning. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
I'm
but
good.
Maybe they weren't super scary sharks that they were seeing on a regular basis.
It's a great white breeding ground where I'm from.
Maybe it was.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, pass.
Okay, let's move on to the next video, because that shark has run its course, or what was the saying? I don't know. Commentary.
Jumps the shark.
Jumps the shark. A towering fire whirl, or smoke-nado, was spotted in Utah on Tuesday. Take a look at this pretty wild weather phenomenon that we see in this video. Wow.
Helitac, air widebound, air attack on Airgun 18.
I have 2 longs for some dip sites to the northeast and east of the fire.
Wow, just incredible visuals out of Utah. So that was in Millard County, Utah on Tuesday. Evacuation orders were issued for parts of that county late last night as some residents in the area were told to leave immediately. This comes from the fire department there, which shows the smoke swirling. As we said, it's commonly referred to as a smoke-nado. According to the U.S. Forest Service, fire whirls are closely related to other swirling atmospheric phenomena, such as dust devils, water spouts, and tornadoes, and are capable of wind damage similar to weak or moderate tornadoes. Wow. It's incredible.
Yeah. Grace has really outdone herself with finding us those videos. Everything just doesn't feel believable.
Can you imagine looking outside your dining room window and seeing that coming towards your neighborhood? I mean, woof.
I'm going to put it out there. That's more terrifying to me than a great white shark.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Is
the
that
likelihood...
is that just an obvious thing to say?
No, I think that humans have a we have a fear of sharks, and tornadoes are way more common. And probably, I don't know the stats, but I would have to guess that tornadoes kill way more people than sharks do every year. So there you have it.
Yeah, quite terrifying. Courtney, will you be driving home with your coffee mug in your lap this afternoon? Is that
no? Do you have the video of the man taking a joyride on the stolen backhoe by
Let
chance?
me see what I can do for you. I'm here to give. Here we go. Yes, I do have that video. I'll stop trying to chat to you politely and I'll just play you the videos. Is that what you'd like?
Well, after you had your commentary about my hosting abilities, I don't know. Wanted to jump a shark on that one. A man was arrested after allegedly driving a stolen backhoe down a street in San Diego. Wow. He caused significant damage, which, yeah, I think you're supposed to lift the backhoe before you drive it. That looks like the problem there. Okay, well, yeah, he was seen dragging the metal scoop along the asphalt, sending a bright trail of sparks. According to an arrest report from the San Diego Police Department, 28-year-old Liam Quigley was arrested on vehicle theft charges and 2 counts of vandalism after taking the heavy machinery from a construction site and taking it on a joyride. Wow. Yeah, I guess that's one way to get the police's attention, huh?
Yeah, I wonder if he's holding his coffee precariously in his lap with no lid on it.
You know, I asked to start a poll today to see if anyone else does this, the open coffee mug in the drive home. I guess I'm alone. I'm alone in that one. All right, Paul.
Yeah, we don't have very long to go here, Courtney. We've got 20 seconds left of our show, so just enough time to say goodbye.
Say goodbye. Yeah, we hope that you've enjoyed hanging out with us today. We'll be back again tomorrow. All day starts at 11 a.m. I take the desk here at 2. Now it's time to send it over to our 5 p.m. team. Have a great day.
This is Fox 9 News at 5.
Thanks so much for joining us on Fox 9 News at 5. I'm Simone Woolridge. We have a lot of news and headlines we are following this evening, including the latest on the sexual harassment allegations made against St. Paul's mayor by the city's police chief. What a lawyer who specializes in employment law says should be the big lesson here. Also, the Minneapolis Police Department says its new unit designed to investigate non-deadly shootings is making progress in closing cases. And the Minnesota Vikings get down to work in Eagan. We'll bring you the highlights from day 1 of training camp, including more on the closely watched quarterback battle. Of course, we'll get to that and all of those stories in just a moment. Let's start, though, with Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard, who is out and about at Target Field today because there is a game happening later tonight, and it will also be on Fox 9. Ian, it is pretty hot, pretty humid out there today. You should probably